The kiss lasted exactly 4 seconds. 4 seconds that destroyed everything Ryan Ashford had carefully built over the past 7 years. 4 seconds that turned his executive assistant's face bright red and made his father's champagne glass slip from his hand. 4 seconds that convinced absolutely no one in that marble-floored office that this was real. But Ryan didn't let go. He couldn't. Because the alternative, marrying the ice-cold heiress his father had chosen, felt like a death sentence. So he held Elena Cruz against him, felt her heart hammering through her cheap blazer, and silently begged her not to run. Before we dive into this messy, complicated story, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this tale travels. Now, let's get into the chaos. Ryan Ashford's Tuesday started the way every Tuesday started for the past 7 years, badly. His daughter Maya refused to eat breakfast. Again, she sat at the kitchen island in their penthouse, pushing scrambled eggs around her plate, while their housekeeper Mrs. Chen hovered nervously nearby. Maya was 8 years old, small for her age, with dark curls that constantly fell into her eyes no matter how many clips they used. "You need to eat something," Ryan said, trying to keep his voice level. He was already running late for a meeting that would determine whether his company acquired a telecommunications firm or lost it to a competitor. "Just a few bites." "I'm not hungry." Maya's voice was barely audible. "You said that yesterday, and the day before." So, Ryan felt the familiar tightness in his chest. The pediatrician had said it was anxiety, normal for a child who'd lost her mother at age 1. Normal didn't make it easier to watch his daughter shrink into herself a little more each month. Mrs. Chen gave him a sympathetic look that made him want to throw something. He didn't need sympathy. He needed solutions. He needed his daughter to be okay. He needed time to stop moving so goddamn fast. "Fine," Ryan grabbed his briefcase. "But you're eating lunch. No arguments." Maya didn't respond. She was staring out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the Manhattan skyline, lost in whatever thoughts occupied an 8-year-old's mind at 7 in the morning. Ryan kissed the top of her head and left before the guilt could pin him to the floor. The Ashford Tower occupied 43 floors in Midtown Manhattan. Ryan's office was on the top floor, all glass and steel and strategic emptiness. He'd fired the interior designer who wanted to make it warm and inviting. Warm and inviting was for people who had time for feelings. His assistant had quit 2 weeks ago. The one before that lasted 3 months. Ryan knew he was difficult to work for. He didn't care. If they couldn't handle the pressure, they shouldn't have applied. Which brought him to the woman currently sitting in his waiting area. Elena Cruz wore a navy blazer that had seen better days and carried a worn leather portfolio that probably cost less than his morning coffee. She sat with her spine straight, hands folded in her lap, looking like she was preparing for battle rather than a job interview. Ryan's head of HR, Patricia, hovered near his desk. "She's overqualified for an assistant position, master's from Columbia, speaks 4 languages, but she specifically requested this role." "Why?" Ryan didn't look up from his phone. "She didn't say." "Then ask her." Patricia sighed. "I did. She said she needed stable hours and health insurance." That made Ryan pause. People didn't take massive pay cuts and waste advanced degrees for stable hours, unless something was wrong. Debt, probably. Or family issues? Maybe both. "Send her in?" Elena Cruz walked into his office like she owned it. Not with arrogance, with the quiet confidence of someone who'd fought too hard to get here to waste time on nervousness. "Mr. Ashford," she extended her hand. Her grip was firm. No ring, he noticed. Short nails. A small scar on her wrist that looked old. "Sit." She sat, crossed her legs at the ankle, met his eyes without flinching. Ryan flipped through her resume, though he'd already memorized it. "You have a master's in international business. You interned at the UN. You speak Spanish, French, Mandarin, and English. And you want to schedule my meetings and answer my phone calls." "Yes." "Why?" "Because I need a job that pays well and ends at 6 p.m. The honesty surprised him. Most people who sat in that chair fed him carefully rehearsed answers about passion and growth opportunities. "You're running from something," Ryan said. Elena's expression didn't change. "Everyone's running from something, Mr. Ashford. The question is whether I can do the job." The last assistant quit because I made her cry. Did you make her cry on purpose? No. Then we'll be fine. Ryan almost smiled. Almost. You start Monday. Don't be late. Elena stood, shook his hand again, and left without the gushing thank you speech he'd expected. The door clicked shut behind her. Patricia poked her head in. Well? She'll either quit in a week or last longer than anyone else. Which one are you hoping for? Ryan didn't answer. He wasn't sure himself. Elena started the following Monday at exactly 8 a.m. She brought her own coffee, took notes in a worn notebook instead of a tablet, and didn't ask a single unnecessary question. By noon, she'd reorganized his calendar, rescheduled 3 conflicting meetings, and somehow convinced a notoriously difficult client to move their presentation back 2 hours without making them angry. How did you do that? Ryan asked when she brought him lunch. Salad with grilled chicken, dressing on the side, exactly what he would have ordered. Do what? Get Harrison to reschedule. He once fired someone for asking him to wait 5 minutes. Elena set the salad on his desk. I told him you had a family emergency and asked if he'd mind being flexible just this once. People respond better to honesty than manipulation. I don't have a family emergency. You do. You're having lunch with your daughter's principal at 1:30 to discuss why Maya hasn't turned in homework for 3 weeks. Ryan's hand froze halfway to his fork. How do you know that? Mrs. Chen called. She forwarded me the email from the school. I put it on your calendar. I didn't authorize you to talk to my housekeeper. Would you like me to tell her not to call anymore? The reasonable question made Ryan's irritation deflate. Maya's school issues had been spiraling for months. He'd been avoiding dealing with it because every conversation with teachers and counselors felt like someone pointing out what a terrible father he was. No, he said finally. That's fine. Elena nodded and turned to leave. Wait. Ryan wasn't sure why he called her back. The meeting with the principal. Can you... He stopped. What was he asking? For help? He didn't ask for help. Never mind. I can join you if you'd like, Elena said quietly. Take notes. Help you remember details for follow-up. Sometimes it's easier to have a second person there. Something in Ryan's chest loosened slightly. You'd do that? It's literally my job to support you, Mr. Ashford. That includes the parts that aren't about quarterly earnings. This time Ryan did smile. Small, brief, but real. Monday, Elena. You can call me Ryan. Not in front of other people. Why not? Because boundaries matter. And because the second people see me getting casual with you, half of them will assume I slept my way into this position. Ryan frowned. That's realistic, Elena finished. I've worked in enough corporate environments to know how this goes. I'm good at my job. I'd like to keep it. Professional distance helps. She left before he could argue. Ryan ate his salad and tried to remember the last time someone had been that straightforward with him. He couldn't. Quote. The meeting with Maya's principal went about as well as a root canal. Principal Hoffman was a thin woman with severe glasses who looked at Ryan like he was a particularly disappointing science project. Maya is a bright child, she said, which Ryan knew was code for, your daughter is struggling and it's your fault. But, Ryan prompted, but she's withdrawn. She doesn't participate in class. She sits alone at lunch, and her homework completion has dropped from 90% to less than 30% in the past 2 months. Ryan felt Elena taking notes beside him. She'd kept her promise, stayed quiet, professional, present, without being intrusive. What do you suggest? He asked. Family therapy? A tutor? More involvement at home? Hoffman folded her hands on her desk. Mr. Ashford, I understand you're busy. Don't. The word came out sharper than he intended. Don't tell me I'm too busy for my daughter. I'm here, aren't I? You are. But Maya needs more than meetings with school administrators. She needs a parent who's emotionally available, not just physically present. The words hit like a slap. Ryan stood abruptly. Thank you for your time. He walked out before Hoffman could respond. Elena followed, her heels clicking against the polished floor. They rode the elevator down in silence. Ryan's jaw ached from clenching it. She's not wrong, Elena said quietly as they stepped into the parking garage. Excuse me? Principal Hoffman, she's not wrong. You're physically present, but Elena stopped walking. My father worked 3 jobs when I was growing up. I saw him maybe 2 hours a day. He was exhausted and stressed and never had time for anything. But every Sunday, no matter what, we had breakfast together. Just me and him. 2 hours. No phones, no work, nothing else. Ryan turned to face her. What's your point? My point is that Maya doesn't need perfect. She needs consistent. She needs to know that no matter how crazy everything else gets, you'll show up for her in at least one small way. I do show up. Do you? Elena's voice was gentle but firm. Or do you show up physically while your mind is running through acquisition strategies and board meetings? Ryan wanted to argue. He wanted to tell Elena she was overstepping, and she'd been working for him for exactly 4 days, so what the hell did she know about his life? But he didn't, because she was right. I don't know how to fix this, he admitted. Start small, have breakfast with her, ask about her day and actually listen to the answer. Read her a book before bed. You don't have to solve everything at once. Ryan ran a hand through his hair. You have kids? No. But I know what it's like to watch a parent drown in responsibility and wish they'd just breathe for a second. They stood in the concrete parking garage, surrounded by expensive cars and fluorescent lights, and Ryan felt something shift. Elena wasn't just competent. She saw things, understood things, and she wasn't afraid to tell him the truth, even when it was uncomfortable. Thank you, he said. Elena nodded. You're welcome. Now we need to get back. You have a 2:30 with the legal team. They drove back to the office in Ryan's Mercedes. Elena answered emails on her phone while Ryan tried to figure out when his life had become an endless series of problems he couldn't solve. 2 weeks later, Ryan's father showed up unannounced. William Ashford didn't visit often. When he did, it meant something bad was coming. He walked into Ryan's office like a conquering general surveying territory, all silver hair and tailored suits and barely concealed disapproval. Father, Ryan didn't stand. What brings you to my office? We need to talk about your future. Ryan's stomach sank. I'm running a multi-billion-dollar company. I'd say my future is pretty well established. William waved that away. The company's fine. I'm talking about your personal situation. My personal situation is none of your business. It is when it affects the family reputation. William sat down without being invited. You're 32 years old. Maya needs a mother. The company needs stability. You need a wife. No. I've already arranged. No. Ryan's voice went cold. I'm not doing this. You don't have a choice. Victoria Blackwell is perfect. Her family owns, I don't care what her family owns the largest private equity firm on the East Coast. A marriage would solidify our position, expand our reach, and give Maya the stable home environment she needs. Ryan laughed, sharp and bitter. You want me to marry someone for business reasons? That worked out great for you and Mom, didn't it? William's expression hardened. Your mother and I had an understanding. Yeah, you understood that you hated each other, and she understood that leaving would cost her everything. Great model for matrimony. This isn't a debate, Ryan. Victoria is coming to dinner Friday night. You'll be there, you'll be charming, and you'll start thinking seriously about your obligations. Get out. Ryan, get out. William stood slowly. You're making a mistake. Maya deserves better than a father who's married to his work. And this company deserves leadership that understands family comes first. He left before Ryan could throw something at him. Ryan sat at his desk, breathing hard, feeling the walls close in. His father was right about one thing. Maya deserved better. But marrying some society heiress who saw his daughter as an inconvenient accessory wasn't the answer. Elena appeared in his doorway. Are you okay? No. She stepped inside and closed the door. Want to talk about it? My father wants me to marry a woman I've never met to improve our business standing. Elena's eyebrows rose. That's very Jane Austen of him. Despite everything, Ryan almost smiled. He's bringing her to dinner Friday. Expects me to play along. Are you going to? Hell no. Elena nodded. Good. They stood there for a moment, the silence comfortable rather than awkward. Can I ask you something? Ryan said. Sure. Why did you really take this job? And don't tell me it was just about stable hours. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. My mother has early onset Alzheimer's. She needs full-time care. I was working 3 part-time jobs trying to cover it, but the hours were irregular and the pay was terrible. I needed something stable that paid enough to actually help. Ryan felt like an ass for asking. I'm sorry. Don't be. Everyone's got their thing. This is mine. Elena straightened her shoulders. Now, you have a conference call in 10 minutes, and I need to brief you on the talking points. She left before he could say anything else. Ryan stared at the closed door and wondered how this woman had gone from complete stranger to the most grounded person in his life in less than 3 weeks. Bams. Friday arrived faster than Ryan wanted. His father had texted 3 times to confirm dinner. Ryan had ignored all 3 messages. He was seriously considering just not showing up when Elena knocked on his office door at 4 p.m. Your father's assistant called. Dinner is at 7 at the Ashford estate. Victoria Blackwell will be there along with her parents. I'm not going. You should probably tell your father that directly instead of just not showing up. He won't listen. Elena tilted her head. So you're just going to hide? I'm not hiding. I'm choosing not to participate in an archaic arrangement that treats marriage like a business merger. Noble. Also slightly cowardly. Ryan glared at her. Excuse me? You're avoiding confrontation, which I understand. Your father seems intense, but not showing up just gives him ammunition to say you're irresponsible and can't handle adult situations. So what do you suggest? Elena shrugged. Go to dinner. Be polite, but clear. Tell this Victoria person you're not interested. Stand your ground. Then leave with your dignity intact. You make it sound easy. It won't be easy, but it's better than hiding. Ryan drummed his fingers on his desk. Elena had a point. Not showing up made him look weak, and if there was one thing William Ashford respected, it was strength. Fine, he said. I'll go. But if this turns into a disaster, I'm blaming you. Elena smiled. Fair enough. But the Ashford estate in Connecticut was exactly as Ryan remembered, cold, massive, and designed to intimidate. He pulled up the circular driveway at 6:55, took a deep breath, and prepared for battle. His father greeted him at the door with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Ryan, good of you to come. Let's get this over with. Inside, the dining room had been set for 6. Crystal glasses, fine china, flower arrangements that probably cost more than most people's rent. Ryan's grandmother sat at one end of the table, sharp-eyed and elegant even at 83. She gave Ryan a small nod. Victoria should be here shortly, William said, along with her parents. Why don't you have a drink while we wait? Ryan poured himself 2 fingers of scotch and tried not to feel like a prisoner awaiting sentencing. The Blackwells arrived at 7 on the dot. Victoria Blackwell was exactly what Ryan expected. 28, beautiful in the calculated way of someone who'd been groomed for society her entire life, wearing a dress that cost more than Elena's monthly salary. She smiled at Ryan with perfect white teeth and extended a hand weighted down by diamonds. Ryan, it's wonderful to finally meet you. Victoria. He shook her hand briefly. Her parents were carbon copies of his father, wealthy, influential, and completely devoid of warmth. They settled around the table like vultures around a carcass. Dinner was torture. Victoria talked about charity galas and vacation homes and mutual acquaintances Ryan didn't care about. Her mother dropped pointed comments about family legacy. Her father discussed business mergers with William like Ryan wasn't even there. Through it all, Ryan's grandmother watched with knowing eyes but said nothing. So, Victoria said as dessert arrived, I was thinking we could announce our engagement at the Met Gala next month. It would be perfect timing. Ryan set down his fork. I'm sorry, what? Victoria laughed, a tinkling sound like breaking glass. Don't be coy, Ryan. Our fathers have worked out all the details. The wedding will be in the fall. I'm thinking October. The weather is lovely. And stop. Ryan's voice cut through her chatter. I'm not marrying you. The table went silent. William's expression darkened. Ryan, I'm not doing this. I don't care what you've arranged. I'm not marrying someone I don't love to seal a business deal. Victoria's smile tightened. Love? How charmingly old-fashioned. Marriage at our level isn't about love, Ryan. It's about partnership, strategy, building something bigger than ourselves. Then build it with someone else. You're being childish, William said. I'm being honest. Victoria leaned forward. Let me be honest too. I don't need to love you. I need your name, your connections, and your cooperation. In return, you get my family's support and a mother for your daughter. It's a fair trade. Something in Ryan snapped. Maya isn't a line item in a business proposal. She's my daughter, and she deserves better than a stepmother who sees her as part of a transaction. He stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. I'm leaving. If you walk out that door, William said quietly, there will be consequences. There always are. Ryan was halfway to the door when it swung open. Elena Cruz walked in. For a second, Ryan thought he was hallucinating, but no. That was definitely Elena, wearing the same navy blazer from her interview and looking completely out of place in the marble foyer. What are you doing here? Ryan asked. Elena's eyes darted to the dining room where 6 pairs of eyes stared at her. Your housekeeper called. She said Maya was asking for you and seemed upset. I was on my way to your penthouse to check on her when I realized you were here, and I thought maybe I should tell you in person instead of calling, and she stopped, took a breath. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting. Who is this? William demanded. Ryan's brain short-circuited. He looked at Elena, at his father, at Victoria's perfectly polished sneer, and he made the single worst decision of his life. He crossed the foyer in 3 strides, grabbed Elena's face in both hands, and kissed her. The kiss lasted 4 seconds. 4 seconds of blind panic and desperate hope, and Elena's sharp inhale against his mouth. When he pulled back, her eyes were huge and her face was flushed, and Ryan could practically feel his father's rage radiating across the room. This, Ryan said, turning to face the dining room with Elena still in his arms, is Elena Cruz, my girlfriend. The room exploded. Victoria's mother gasped. William's Scotch glass slipped from his hand and shattered on the marble floor. Victoria herself stood up so fast her chair tipped over. You're what? William's voice was deadly quiet. My girlfriend. Ryan kept his arm around Elena's waist. She was trembling. We've been seeing each other for 2 months. I was going to tell you, but honestly, it wasn't any of your business. Ryan, Elena whispered, what are you— I'm sorry, he said quietly, only to her. I'm so sorry. Please just go along with this for 30 seconds. Elena stared at him. Then, incredibly, she slipped her arm around his waist and leaned into him. Hi, she said to the room, her voice only slightly shaky. This is awkward. Victoria looked like she wanted to set something on fire. You're dating your assistant? Executive assistant, Elena corrected. And yes. How convenient, Victoria's mother said coldly. A poor girl lands a billionaire by filing his paperwork. Ryan felt Elena stiffen. Actually, I landed the billionaire by being better at my job than anyone else who applied. The relationship was an unexpected bonus. This is absurd, William said. Ryan, stop this nonsense right now. It's not nonsense. I'm in a relationship. I'm not interested in your arranged marriage, and I'd appreciate it if you'd respect my choices. Ryan's grandmother chose that moment to speak for the first time all evening. Bring her here. Everyone turned to stare at her. I said, bring the girl here. I want to meet her properly. Ryan and Elena crossed to the table. Up close, his grandmother's eyes were sharp as knives. What's your name, dear? Elena Cruz, ma'am. And how long have you been seeing my grandson? Elena hesitated. Ryan squeezed her waist gently. 2 months, Elena said. It's still new. His grandmother studied them both. You love him? The question hung in the air like a bomb. Elena looked at Ryan. Something flickered across her face, panic maybe, or calculation. Then she turned back to his grandmother and smiled. I'm getting there. It was the perfect answer. Not too much, not too little. Just honest enough to be believable. Ryan's grandmother laughed, a sharp bark of sound. I like her. She's got spine. Lord knows this family needs more of that. Mother, William started. Oh, hush, William. Your arrangement is over. Ryan's made his choice. She turned to Victoria. You seem like a smart girl. I'm sure you'll find someone else to merge portfolios with. Victoria looked like she'd been slapped. Her parents were already standing, making excuses, gathering their things. Within 5 minutes, the Blackwells had swept out of the house in a cloud of expensive perfume and wounded pride. William rounded on Ryan. "We're not done talking about this." "Yeah, we are. That girl is completely inappropriate. That girl's name is Elena, and she's more appropriate than anyone you'd choose for me." "You're making a mistake." "Wouldn't be the first time." William stormed off. His grandmother gave Elena an approving nod and retired to her room. And just like that, Ryan and Elena were alone in the vast marble foyer. Elena pulled away from him. "What the hell was that?" "I'm sorry. I panicked. My father was pushing this arranged marriage, and you walked in, and I didn't think." "You didn't think?" Elena's voice rose. "You just told your entire family we're dating. You kissed me in front of them. What am I supposed to do now?" "I'll fix it. I'll tell them it was a mistake." "A mistake? Ryan, your father looked ready to murder someone. Your grandmother thinks we're in love. That Victoria woman." Elena stopped, pressed her hands to her face. "I need this job. I can't afford to get caught up in your family drama." "I know, and I'm sorry. I'll make it right. Just—" Ryan ran his hand through his hair. "Can you just pretend for one more night? My father's having a business dinner here tomorrow. If you come, if we sell this for just a few more hours, he'll back off, and I can end it cleanly after that." "You want me to fake date you?" "Just for tomorrow. One dinner, then we go back to being boss and assistant." Elena stared at him for a long moment. "This is insane." "I know. One dinner." "One dinner, I promise." "Fine, but you owe me. Big time. Whatever you want, name it." Elena pulled out her phone. "I need to check on your daughter. That's the real reason I came here, remember? Not to become part of your bizarre family theater." Guilt crashed over Ryan. "Is Maya okay?" "Mrs. Chen said she had a nightmare. She's fine now, but she was asking for you." Ryan closed his eyes. "I'm a terrible father." "You're a father who's trying. That counts for something." Elena headed for the door. "I'll see you tomorrow. Text me the details." She left before Ryan could thank her. He stood in the empty foyer, surrounded by his father's wealth and his own stupid decisions, and wondered how a simple lie had just complicated his entire life. The next morning, Ryan woke up to 17 missed calls from his father and a text from Elena. "What should I wear to this fake relationship dinner?" Ryan stared at the message. He'd expected her to back out, to quit, to tell him to go to hell. Instead, she was asking about clothes. He typed back, "Something nice, but comfortable. You'll be there for a few hours. Helpful. Thanks." Ryan smiled despite everything. He spent the day trying to focus on work and failing miserably. Patricia stopped by his office 3 times to ask if he was okay. Maya's teacher sent an email saying she'd actually participated in class for the first time in weeks. And his father left a voicemail that was equal parts threatening and disappointed. At 6 p.m., Elena appeared in his doorway wearing a simple black dress that somehow made her look both professional and elegant. "Ready?" she asked. "Not even close." "Good. Me neither." They drove to Connecticut in tense silence. Elena kept fidgeting with her bracelet, a thin silver chain that looked handmade. "Who made that?" Ryan asked. "My father, for my 15th birthday." Elena touched it gently. "He works in construction. Made it from scrap metal during his lunch breaks." "It's nice." "It's cheap, but it's mine." Ryan understood what she wasn't saying. In a few hours, she'd be surrounded by people wearing jewelry worth more than her father made in a year. People who would judge her for every wrong fork and misused word. "You don't have to do this," he said. "I know, but I told you I would. And I keep my promises." They pulled up to the estate just as the sun was setting. Ryan took a deep breath. "Whatever happens in there," he said, "just remember it's all pretend, none of it's real." Elena looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. "Right. None of it's real." They walked inside together, and Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just lied to both of them. The estate looked different at night. Less imposing, maybe, or just differently threatening. Warm light spilled from windows that during the day seemed designed to keep people out. Elena's heels clicked against the stone steps as they approached the front door, and she resisted the urge to turn around and run back to the car. Ryan's hand found the small of her back. "Breathe," he murmured. "I am breathing." "You're holding your breath, I can tell." Elena exhaled. He was right. Of course he was right. The door opened before they reached it. A butler, an actual butler, stood there looking like he'd stepped out of a period drama. "Good evening, Mr. Ashford. Miss Cruz?" "Charles." Ryan nodded. "Where's my father?" "The library, sir, with the other guests." Other guests. Elena's stomach dropped. She'd assumed it would be just family. The fact that Ryan looked surprised told her he'd assumed the same thing. "How many others?" Ryan asked. "8, sir. Business associates of your father's." Ryan swore under his breath. Of course he did. They followed Charles through hallways lined with portraits of stern-looking ancestors who all seemed to be judging Elena personally. The library doors were already open, voices and laughter floating out. Ryan paused just outside. Last chance to run. Elena smoothed down her dress, a nervous habit she couldn't shake. "You promised me one dinner. Let's get it over with." They walked in together. The library was all dark wood and leather chairs and books that looked expensive but unread. William stood by the fireplace with 3 other men in suits that probably cost more than Elena's rent. 2 couples sat on the sofas, drinks in hand, looking comfortable in a way that came from old money and older connections. And there, perched on the arm of a chair like a cat that had found cream, was Victoria Blackwell. Ryan's entire body went rigid. "What is she doing here?" he asked quietly. William turned, his expression neutral. "Ryan, Elena, good of you to join us. Victoria was kind enough to accept my invitation despite yesterday's misunderstanding." "That wasn't a misunderstanding," Ryan said. "That was me telling you no. And I thought perhaps with cooler heads and better circumstances we could all have a civil conversation." William gestured to the room. "You know Marcus Henderson and his wife Claire, Robert Chen and his wife Susan, and of course Victoria needs no introduction." Elena felt every eye in the room land on her, assessing, judging, finding her wanting. "Actually," Victoria said, standing gracefully, "I don't believe we were properly introduced yesterday. I'm Victoria Blackwell." She extended her hand to Elena with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Elena shook it. Victoria's grip was deliberately firm, a power play wrapped in politeness. "Elena Cruz. Nice to meet you." "Cruz?" Victoria tilted her head. "That's Spanish, isn't it?" "It is. How exotic." The word hung in the air like a slap disguised as a compliment. Elena had heard it before, dozens of times, from people who thought they were being open-minded when really they were just putting her in a box labeled other. "My family's from Mexico," Elena said evenly. "4th generation." "How interesting. And what do your parents do?" Ryan's hand tightened on Elena's waist. She could feel him preparing to intervene, to protect her. But Elena had been handling people like Victoria since she was old enough to understand that some doors would never fully open for her. "My father works in construction. My mother was a nurse before she got sick." "Oh." Victoria's expression shifted to practice sympathy. "I'm so sorry. What happened?" "Alzheimer's." "How awful. That must be quite expensive to manage." There it was. The implication. The suggestion that Elena was with Ryan for his money, because of course she would be. "It is," Elena said. "Which is why I work. As Ryan's assistant." Victoria's smile sharpened. "That must be convenient." "It's professional," Ryan cut in. "And this conversation is over." "Oh, don't be sensitive, darling." Victoria touched his arm. Elena noticed the possessive gesture, the casual intimacy. "I'm just getting to know your girlfriend. After all, if she's going to be part of your life, we should all become acquainted." William cleared his throat. "Why don't we move to the dining room? Dinner should be ready." The dining room was somehow even more intimidating than the library. The table could easily seat 20, though tonight only 10 places were set. Crystal chandeliers, oil paintings of hunting scenes. China so delicate, Elena was afraid to breathe near it. Ryan pulled out her chair before Charles could. "You okay?" he whispered. "Fantastic," Elena lied. William sat at the head of the table with Ryan's grandmother at the other end. Ryan and Elena were positioned in the middle, directly across from Victoria and her parents. The business associates filled in the remaining seats, all of them watching with the interested detachment of people observing a particularly entertaining sport. Wine was poured. The first course arrived, some kind of soup that Elena couldn't identify, but that tasted like butter and money. "So Elena," Claire Henderson said, her voice friendly but curious, "how did you and Ryan meet?" Elena had approximately 3 seconds to come up with a story. She glanced at Ryan, who looked equally unprepared. "At work," Elena said. "I interviewed for the assistant position about a month ago." "How romantic," Victoria said. "Love in the workplace." "It wasn't like that at first," Ryan said. He set down his spoon and looked at Elena, and something in his expression made her breath catch. "She walked into my office, and I thought she was the most competent person I'd ever met. Smart, direct, not afraid to tell me when I was being an ass, like—" "Language, Ryan," William murmured. Ryan ignored him. "It took me about 2 weeks to realize I was looking for excuses to call her into my office. Another week to admit I was attracted to her. And then one night we were working late, and I just asked her to dinner." The lie came out so smoothly that Elena almost believed it herself. She could picture it. Late night, empty office, Ryan looking at her across his desk with that intense focus he got sometimes. "And you said yes?" Susan Chen asked Elena. "Even though he was your boss?" "I said no," Elena answered. "Twice. I told him it was unprofessional and complicated and probably a terrible idea." "But?" Claire prompted. Elena looked at Ryan. His eyes were steady on hers, waiting. She could say anything right now. He'd go along with it. The thought was both comforting and terrifying. But he kept asking, and eventually I ran out of good reasons to say no. "How persistent," Victoria said. The word sounded like an insult. Ryan's grandmother spoke for the first time since they'd sat down. "Persistence is an Ashford trait, usually applied to business, but I suppose it works for romance too." "Does Maya know about this relationship?" Robert Chen asked. "She's your daughter, correct?" Elena felt Ryan tense beside her. "She does," Ryan said carefully. "We've been taking things slow. Elena's met her a few times." That wasn't entirely a lie. Elena had met Maya twice, once when she'd stopped by Ryan's penthouse to drop off documents, and once during the school meeting. Both times the little girl had been quiet, watchful, clutching a worn, stuffed rabbit. "And how does she feel about it?" Victoria's mother asked. "It must be difficult for a child to see her father with someone new, especially someone so different from her late mother." The comment was surgical in its cruelty. Elena watched Ryan's jaw clench. "Maya's late mother was brilliant, kind, and completely irreplaceable," Ryan said, his voice tight. "Elena knows that. I know that. And Maya knows that no one is trying to replace her mother." "Of course not," Victoria's mother said smoothly. "I just meant that children can be so sensitive to change, particularly children who've experienced loss." Elena's hands were clenched in her lap under the table. She wanted to say something cutting, something that would shut this woman up. But she was supposed to be Ryan's girlfriend, not his defender. She was supposed to look in love, not ready to commit violence with a soup spoon. Ryan found her hand under the table and laced his fingers through hers. The gesture was so unexpected that Elena almost pulled away. Then she realized people were watching. This was part of the show. She squeezed his hand back. The main course arrived. Filet mignon so tender it practically dissolved. Elena focused on eating, on nodding at appropriate moments, on playing the role of supportive girlfriend while Victoria's mother made increasingly pointed comments about family values and proper upbringing. "I read an article recently," Marcus Henderson said, clearly trying to steer the conversation to safer ground, "about the importance of diverse perspectives in leadership. Elena, with your international business background, you must have thoughts on that." It was a kindness, a lifeline thrown across the table. Elena grabbed it. "I think diversity is crucial," she said, "not just for moral reasons, but practical ones. Homogeneous thinking leads to blind spots. You need people who see problems differently, who bring different experiences to the table." "Even if those experiences include poverty and struggle?" Victoria asked sweetly. The table went silent. Elena set down her fork carefully. "Especially then. Some of the best problem solvers I know learned to think creatively because they had to, because they didn't have money or connections or safety nets. They had to be smart and resourceful and resilient." "How admirable," Victoria's mother said. "Though I imagine it's quite a relief not to struggle anymore. Dating a billionaire must feel like winning the lottery." Ryan started to speak, but Elena got there first. Actually, I still work 60 hours a week. I still pay my mother's medical bills. I still live in a one-bedroom apartment in Queens. The only thing that's changed is that I have better health insurance and a boss who doesn't micromanage. She smiled. Though the company isn't bad either. Ryan's grandmother laughed, sharp and sudden. I like her, she announced. She's got steel in her spine. Mother, William started. Oh, hush, William. You brought that Blackwell girl here to intimidate this one, and it's not working. Give it up. Victoria's perfect mask slipped for just a second, showing something cold underneath. I'm not trying to intimidate anyone, Mrs. Ashford. I'm simply trying to understand what Ryan sees in someone so unsuitable. Unsuitable how? Ryan's voice was dangerous. She works for you. She's from a completely different social class. She has no connections, no family influence, no understanding of the world you operate in. Victoria leaned forward. I'm not being cruel, Ryan. I'm being realistic. This infatuation might be exciting now, but what happens when the novelty wears off? When you need a wife who can navigate society events and business dinners and complex family dynamics? When Maya needs a mother who understands what it means to be an Ashford? Maya needs a mother who actually cares about her, Ryan said coldly, not someone who sees her as a box to check on a business proposal. And you think she cares? Victoria gestured to Elena. You think this girl from Queens with a sick mother and a mountain of debt is with you for your personality? Please, she saw an opportunity and she took it. I can't even blame her for it. Elena stood up so abruptly her chair scraped against the floor. I need some air, she said. Ryan stood too. Elena, I'm fine. I just need a minute. She walked out before anyone could stop her, through the dining room and down a hallway and out a side door into the cold night air. Her hands were shaking, not from anger, though she was angry, but from something deeper. The reminder that people like Victoria would always see her as less than, always assume she was climbing, grasping, using. The door opened behind her. Ryan stepped out, closing it quietly. I'm sorry, he said. For what? You didn't say anything. For putting you in this situation. For not warning you my father would pull something like this. For not throwing Victoria out the second I saw her. Elena wrapped her arms around herself. She's not entirely wrong, you know. What? I am unsuitable. I don't know which fork to use for which course. I don't know anyone at your country club. I can't tell a Monet from a Manet. And yeah, I do have a sick mother and debt and all the messy stuff that people like her never have to worry about. Ryan moved closer. None of that makes you unsuitable. In her world it does. In your father's world it does. I don't care about their world. Elena laughed, a bitter sound. Yes, you do. You're Ryan Ashford. Your family built this empire. You went to the right schools, know the right people, sit on the right boards. You can pretend you don't care, but you do. You have to. You think I care more about impressing people like Victoria than about being with someone who actually makes me feel like a human being? The words hung between them in the cold air. We're not actually together, Elena said quietly. This is fake, remember? Tomorrow we go back to being boss and assistant, and you can forget this whole stupid idea. Ryan stared at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head. I can't go back in there. What? I can't sit through another hour of Victoria's comments and my father's manipulation and everyone judging you for not being born rich enough. I'm done. Ryan, you can't just leave your own family dinner. Watch me. He pulled out his phone and texted someone. 30 seconds later, Charles appeared at the door. Have my car brought around, Ryan said, and tell my father I had an emergency. Sir? Please, Charles. The butler hesitated, then nodded and disappeared back inside. Elena stared at Ryan. You're really leaving? We're really leaving. Unless you want to go back in there and endure more of Victoria's subtle warfare? Not even a little bit. Then let's go. They walked around to the front of the estate where Ryan's Mercedes was already waiting. He opened the passenger door for Elena, then got behind the wheel and drove away from the house without looking back. They were halfway to Manhattan before Elena spoke. Your father is going to kill you. Probably. Victoria looked ready to set me on fire. Definitely. This whole fake relationship thing is officially a disaster. Ryan glanced at her. Yeah, it really is. They drove in silence for a while. Then Elena noticed Ryan wasn't taking the exit toward her apartment in Queens. Where are we going? My place. We need to figure out what happens next. What happens next is we end this charade and I go back to being your assistant. We can't. Why not? Ryan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Because my father saw us leave together. Victoria saw us leave together. If we suddenly break up tomorrow, it looks exactly like what Victoria said, that you were using me and bailed the second things got complicated. Elena hadn't thought of that. So what do? We keep it going. A few more weeks. Let it die down naturally. A few more weeks of pretending to date you. Yes. Ryan, that's insane. I know. But it's better than the alternative. Elena leaned her head against the window and watched Manhattan's lights blur past. This is the weirdest job I've ever had. Despite everything, Ryan laughed. They pulled up to his building 40 minutes later. The doorman greeted Ryan by name and didn't even blink at Elena's presence. They rode the elevator up to the penthouse in silence. Ryan's apartment was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, art on the walls that Elena recognized from auction catalogs. It was beautiful and cold and looked like nobody actually lived there. Maya's asleep, Ryan said, checking his phone. Mrs. Chen says she went down an hour ago. Does Mrs. Chen know about our fake relationship? No, and she can't. She'd tell Maya and… Ryan stopped. We need to talk about Maya. What about her? If we're keeping this going, she's going to find out. Kids pick up on things, and she already likes you. Elena remembered the little girl's shy smile during the school meeting. She barely knows me. She knows you brought me to her school. She knows you convinced me to actually listen instead of just showing up. That matters to her. Ryan, I'm not asking you to be her mother. I'm just asking you to be present. When you're here, if you're here, just be yourself. Elena walked to the windows and looked out at the city. Somewhere down there was her apartment, her mother in the care facility, her real life. This penthouse and its problems felt like something from a different planet. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. Do what? Pretend to be someone I'm not. Your girlfriend. Someone who belongs in this world. Ryan came to stand beside her. Then don't pretend. Just be Elena, the woman who tells me when I'm being an idiot. The woman who walked into that dining room and didn't back down even when Victoria was doing her best to tear you apart. I wanted to throw soup at her. I wanted to throw the whole table. They stood there together, looking out at the city, and for a moment it felt almost real, like they actually were a couple dealing with difficult family dynamics instead of two people trapped in an increasingly complicated lie. I should go home, Elena said. It's late. Stay here. Guest room's down the hall. Ryan, I'm not making a move. I'm being practical. It's after midnight, you're exhausted, and I have a perfectly good guest room. Elena was too tired to argue. Fine, but I need to leave early. I have to check on my mom before work. I'll drive you. You don't have to… Elena, let me drive you. She nodded. Ryan showed her to a guest room that was bigger than her entire apartment. Luxury sheets, attached bathroom, a view that probably cost more per month than she made in a year. There's clothes in the closet if you need anything, Ryan said. They were Sarah's, my wife's. She was about your size. The offer made Elena uncomfortable. I'm fine with what I have. Okay, sleep well. He started to leave, then paused in the doorway. Thank you. For tonight. For dealing with Victoria and my father and all of it. You're paying me. Not enough. After he left, Elena sat on the edge of the impossibly soft bed and tried to process what had just happened. She'd walked into a billionaire family dinner as a fake girlfriend and walked out feeling like… What? She didn't even know. Her phone buzzed. A text from her brother Carlos. Mama's asking for you. She had a good day? Elena typed back. I'll visit tomorrow. Promise. She set her phone aside and lay down, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere in this enormous apartment, Ryan was probably doing the same thing. Both of them trapped in a lie that was getting more complicated by the hour. Elena closed her eyes and tried not to think about the way Ryan's hand had felt in hers under that dining table. Tried not to think about the way he'd defended her to Victoria. Tried not to think about the fact that for a few moments tonight, sitting beside him, she'd almost forgotten they were pretending. She fell asleep, still trying. Somewhere around 3 a.m., Elena woke to the sound of quiet crying. For a second, she thought she'd imagined it. Then she heard it again, soft, muffled, coming from somewhere down the hall. She got up and followed the sound to a partially open door. Inside, curled up in a bed shaped like a princess castle, Maya was crying into her stuffed rabbit. Elena knocked softly. "Maya, are you okay?" The little girl's head whipped around. Her face was blotchy and wet. "I had a bad dream," Maya whispered. "Want to talk about it?" Maya shook her head. Elena stepped into the room, keeping her distance. "I get bad dreams sometimes, too. They're the worst." "You do?" "Yeah. Sometimes I dream about things that happened a long time ago. Sometimes I dream about things that haven't happened yet, but I'm scared they will." Maya clutched her rabbit tighter. "I dream about my mom." Elena's heart cracked. "Yeah? I dream she's here, and then I wake up and she's not, and Maya's voice broke. Elena sat down on the edge of the bed, careful not to crowd her. "I'm sorry. That sounds really hard. Everyone says it gets better, but it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't get better. Maybe it just gets different." Maya looked at her with Sarah Ashford's dark eyes. "Are you my dad's girlfriend?" The question caught Elena off guard. Mrs. Chen said you were. She said Dad finally found someone nice." Elena had no idea what to say. The truth would destroy the whole fragile lie. But lying to an 8-year-old who'd already lost too much felt wrong. "Your dad and I are figuring things out," Elena said carefully. "It's new and complicated. But yeah, I guess I am." "Do you love him?" "Maya, because if you don't love him, you should leave. He's sad enough already." The blunt assessment from a child devastated Elena. She thought about Ryan at that school meeting, tense and exhausted. Ryan at the dinner table, defending her against Victoria. Ryan in the parking garage, admitting he didn't know how to fix his relationship with his daughter. "I care about your dad a lot," Elena said. "It wasn't a lie. And I care about you. And I'm not going anywhere unless you want me to." Maya studied her for a long moment. Then she scooted over in the bed. "Will you stay until I fall asleep?" "Yeah, I can do that." Elena lay down on top of the covers, and Maya curled up next to her, still clutching the rabbit. Within minutes, the little girl's breathing evened out. Elena stayed there anyway, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars on Maya's ceiling, and wondering how a fake relationship had gotten so real so fast. She must have dozed off, because the next thing she knew, early morning light was streaming through the windows and Ryan was standing in the doorway. Their eyes met across the room. He looked at his daughter curled against Elena, peaceful in sleep. Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or gratitude, or something Elena couldn't name. He didn't say anything, just nodded once and disappeared back down the hall. Elena carefully extracted herself from Maya's grip, tucked the rabbit in closer, and tiptoed out of the room. Ryan was in the kitchen making coffee. He poured a cup and handed it to Elena without asking how she took it. She was learning he noticed things like that, small details that most people missed. "She okay?" he asked quietly. "Bad dream. We talked. She fell back asleep." "Thank you." "Don't. I didn't do anything special. You stayed. That's more than most people would do for someone else's kid." Elena sipped her coffee. It was perfect. Just enough cream, no sugar. "She asked if I was your girlfriend." Ryan's hand stilled on his own cup. "What did you say?" "I said we were figuring things out. I didn't know what else to tell her." Probably the truth. They stood in the kitchen as the city woke up around them. Two people who'd started the week as boss and assistant and somehow ended up here, sharing coffee at dawn, pretending to be something they weren't while accidentally becoming something they hadn't planned. "We should talk about rules," Elena said. "Rules?" "For this fake relationship, boundaries, what's okay and what's not." Ryan nodded slowly. "Makes sense. What do you want?" "No kissing unless absolutely necessary." Define necessary. "If your father or Victoria are physically present and watching." "Fair. What else?" "We keep work and personal separate. At the office, we're professional. Period." "Agreed." "And we end this the second it stops being helpful. No dragging it out." Ryan was quiet for a moment. "Okay. Okay. Yeah, makes sense." He set down his coffee. "Now it's my turn." "Your turn for what?" "My rules. You get boundaries, I get boundaries." Elena hadn't expected that. Fine. What do you want? When we're in public together, we act like we're actually in a relationship. No halfway measures. If we're going to do this, we do it right. Meaning? Meaning when someone asks about us, we have our story straight. We know details. We don't contradict each other or hesitate. Fine. What else? You tell me if it gets to be too much. If my father crosses a line, or Victoria won't back off, or any of this makes you uncomfortable. You tell me and we figure it out. Something in his voice made Elena look at him more closely. He wasn't just setting rules, he was asking for permission to protect her. Okay, she said quietly. And one more thing. What? Ryan met her eyes. We're honest with each other. I know the relationship is fake, but the conversations don't have to be. If something's bothering you, tell me. If I'm being an idiot, tell me. Deal? Elena extended her hand. Deal. They shook on it like they were sealing a business contract instead of agreeing to keep lying to everyone they knew. Ryan drove Elena to Queens an hour later so she could change before work. Her apartment building looked even more run down next to his Mercedes. But Ryan didn't comment, just said he'd pick her up in 30 minutes. Elena showered, changed into work clothes, and tried to pretend yesterday hadn't happened. Tried to pretend she hadn't fallen asleep next to Ryan's daughter or made a deal to keep pretending to be his girlfriend. Her phone rang. Her brother Carlos. Hey, she answered. Where were you last night? I called 3 times. Work thing. What's up? Mama had a good day yesterday, but she's asking for you. Can you visit? Guilt twisted in Elena's stomach. Yeah, after work. Elena, are you okay? You sound weird. I'm fine, just tired. You're always tired. Comes with the job. Carlos was quiet for a beat. You sure this job is worth it? Rich guy's assistant doesn't sound that great. If only he knew. It pays the bills, Carlos. That's enough. They hung up and Elena stared at herself in the bathroom mirror. Dark circles under her eyes, hair that needed washing, clothes that fit but barely. She looked like exactly what Victoria had called her, unsuitable. But she'd made a deal. And Elena Cruz kept her promises. Ryan picked her up exactly 30 minutes later. They drove to the office in comfortable silence, and when they walked into the building together, Elena felt the stairs follow them all the way to the elevator. By noon, the entire office knew they were dating. Patricia cornered Elena in the break room. Is it true? Is what true? You and Ryan, people are saying you're together. Elena poured coffee she didn't need just to have something to do with her hands. We're seeing each other. It's new. Patricia's expression cycled through surprise, concern, and something that might have been approval. Well, good for you. He needs someone who won't take his crap. Thanks. Just be careful. Office relationships are complicated. And Ryan's, he's been through a lot. I know. And the thing was, Elena did know. She'd spent the last month watching Ryan try to be everything to everyone. CEO, father, son, grandson. She'd seen him crack under the pressure and put himself back together. She knew him better than she'd known anyone in years, which made lying about their relationship even worse. The day crawled by. Ryan had back-to-back meetings. Elena fielded calls and rescheduled appointments and tried not to think about how many people now assumed she'd slept her way into her job. At 5 p.m., Ryan's office door opened. Elena, can you come in here? She grabbed her tablet and followed him inside. Ryan closed the door behind her. We have a problem, he said. What kind of problem? He turned his laptop around. On the screen was a gossip website with a photo of them leaving the Ashford estate together. The headline read, Billionaire Bachelor, Ryan Ashford's Mystery Woman. Elena's stomach dropped. Oh no. It gets worse. Ryan clicked to another tab, another website, another photo, this one of them in the parking garage after the school meeting, standing close together. The headline, Ashford heir spotted with assistant in intimate moment. Who took these? Elena asked. Paparazzi. Probably tipped off by someone at the estate. Ryan ran his hand through his hair. This is going to blow up. What do we do? We stick to the story. You're my girlfriend. We've been seeing each other for 2 months. End of story. Elena sank into a chair. Your father's going to lose his mind. He already has. He called me 4 times today. I didn't answer. Ryan! I know. I'll deal with him. But Elena, this changes things. People are going to dig into your life, your family, your background. They're going to look for dirt. I don't have dirt. I have debt and a sick mother and student loans. That's it. To them, that's enough. Ryan knelt in front of her chair. If this gets to be too much, we end it. I mean it. I'm not letting you get destroyed by tabloids for a fake relationship. Elena looked at him. Really looked. His eyes were tired but determined. His jaw was set in that stubborn way she'd learned meant he wouldn't back down. One condition, she said. What? We tell Maya the truth, eventually. Not now, but before this gets too big. I won't lie to that little girl about something this important. Ryan hesitated, then nodded. Okay, when the time is right. They sat there in his office as the sun set over Manhattan, two people who'd stumbled into the messiest situation of their lives and couldn't find a way out. For what it's worth, Ryan said quietly, I'm sorry. For which part? All of it. Elena surprised herself by smiling. Yeah, me too. By Wednesday morning, Elena's face was on the cover of 3 different gossip magazines. She stood in a bodega near her apartment, staring at the newsstand display while the cashier pretended not to notice. Mystery woman snags Manhattan's most eligible bachelor, screamed one headline. Another went with From Rags to Riches, the Cinderella story of Elena Cruz. The third was more direct. Gold digger or true love? Elena bought coffee and left without looking at the magazines again. Her phone had been ringing nonstop since yesterday. Reporters somehow had her number. Old classmates she hadn't spoken to in years suddenly wanted to reconnect. Her brother Carlos had called 6 times asking what the hell was going on. She'd ignored all of them, except Carlos, and that conversation had been a disaster. You're dating a billionaire? He'd shouted. And you didn't think to mention it? It's complicated. Complicated? Elena, there are photographers outside Mama's care facility. They're asking the nurses about our family, about Dad's construction business, about your student loans. This is insane. I know. I'm sorry. Are you actually with this guy, or is this some kind of scam? The question had hurt more than it should have. I'm actually with him. The lie tasted like ash in her mouth. Now, walking into the Ashford Tower, Elena felt every eye track her movement across the lobby. Whispers followed her to the elevator. Someone took a photo with their phone, not even trying to hide it. Patricia was waiting when the elevator doors opened on the executive floor. Conference room, now. What's wrong? Your boyfriend's father showed up 10 minutes ago. He's not happy. Elena's stomach dropped. Where's Ryan? Already in there. With William. And legal. Legal. That couldn't be good. Elena followed Patricia to the glass-walled conference room where Ryan sat across from his father and 2 lawyers she didn't recognize. Ryan's expression was carved from stone. Ah, William said when Elena entered. The woman of the hour. Father, don't. Don't what? Don't acknowledge that your little stunt has turned into a media circus? William gestured to one of the lawyers, who slid a folder across the table. These are the stories that ran in the last 24 hours. 16 major publications, countless blogs and social media posts, all speculating about your relationship and questioning whether Elena is qualified for her position. Elena sat down next to Ryan. I am qualified. Your qualifications aren't in question. Your motives are. My motives are to do my job. William smiled, cold and calculated. Then you won't mind signing this. The second lawyer pushed a document toward her. Elena scanned the first page and felt her blood go cold. A non-disclosure agreement? She looked at Ryan. Are you serious? I didn't know about this, Ryan said tightly. It's standard procedure, William said. You'll agree not to discuss Ryan's personal life, business dealings, or family matters with any media outlet, publication, or third party. You'll also agree to return any gifts or financial compensation received during the course of your relationship should it end. Elena stared at the document. You think I'm going to sell stories about Ryan? I think you're a smart young woman who understands the value of information. This protects everyone. It protects you, Elena corrected. It makes me look like exactly what people are already saying I am, someone who's only here for money. Then you shouldn't have a problem signing it. Ryan stood abruptly. She's not signing anything. Ryan, no, this is insulting and manipulative and I'm done. He looked at Elena. Let's go. If she doesn't sign, one of the lawyers said, we'll be forced to consider other options. Like what? Ryan's voice was dangerous. Firing her? Go ahead, try it. I'll have this company tied up in wrongful termination lawsuits so fast you won't know what hit you. William's expression darkened. You're letting your emotions cloud your judgment. My emotions are the only thing keeping me from throwing you out of this building. Father and son stared at each other across the conference table. The lawyers shifted uncomfortably. Finally, William stood. You're making a mistake. This girl is going to destroy everything you've built. Get out! William left with the lawyers trailing behind him like remoras following a shark. Ryan waited until the door closed, then slumped into his chair. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing, Elena said. This isn't your fault. It is. I started this. I kissed you at that dinner, and now we're both paying for it. Elena looked at the NDA still sitting on the table. He's going to keep pushing. I know. And eventually something's going to break. I know that too. They sat in silence for a moment. Through the glass walls, Elena could see office workers pretending not to stare. I need to tell you something, Ryan said quietly. What? Victoria called me this morning. She wants to meet. Elena's stomach tightened. Why? She said she wants to clear the air, have a civilized conversation without my father orchestrating everything. That's a trap. Probably. So you're not going? Ryan hesitated. I think I have to. If I don't, she'll just escalate. At least if I meet with her, I can control the narrative. You want me there? Elena wasn't sure if she wanted him to say yes or no. She specifically asked to meet with both of us. Definitely a trap. Yeah, see, Ryan ran his hand through his hair. But refusing makes us look like we're hiding something. Like we're not confident in our relationship. Our relationship. The fake one that felt less fake every day. When? Elena asked. Friday. Lunch at the plaza. Of course it's the plaza. Despite everything, Ryan almost smiled. We don't have to go. Yes, we do. Because you're right. Refusing makes us look weak. Elena stood. So we go. We have lunch with your psychotic ex-almost fiancé. We smile and play the happy couple. And then we leave. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple, but it's survivable. Ryan looked at her with an expression Elena couldn't quite read. How are you so calm about all of this? I'm not calm. I'm terrified. But I grew up watching my mother handle things that would break most people. She taught me that you can be scared and still move forward. I'd like to meet her someday. The casual comment hit Elena harder than expected. Meeting parents was something real couples did, not fake ones. Maybe, she said carefully. We'll see. The rest of the week passed in a blur of suspicious looks and whispered conversations. Elena kept her head down and did her job. Ryan had meeting after meeting, each one more tense than the last. His father was clearly working behind the scenes to undermine their relationship. Thursday night, Elena stayed late finishing a presentation for Ryan's Monday morning board meeting. She was so focused on the spreadsheets that she didn't notice Ryan standing in her doorway until he spoke. You're still here. Elena jumped. Jesus, you scared me. Sorry. He came into the office. It's almost 9. Go home. I need to finish this. It can wait. It really can't. The board meeting is in 4 days and the numbers aren't aligning. Ryan peered at her screen. What's wrong with them? The third quarter projections are off by about 15 million. Either someone made a data entry error or we're missing revenue from somewhere. Let me see. For the next hour, they sat side by side going through spreadsheets and financial reports. Ryan found the error first, a decimal point in the wrong place that had thrown everything off. There, he said, correcting it. See? Elena watched the numbers recalculate and align perfectly. You're good at this. It's my company. I should be good at it. Still, most CEOs would have delegated this to their CFO. I'm not most CEOs. Elena saved the file and closed her laptop. No, you're really not. They were sitting close enough that Elena could smell his cologne, something expensive but not overwhelming. Close enough that she noticed the small scar above his left eyebrow that she'd never asked about. "How'd you get that?" She gestured to the scar. Ryan touched it reflexively. "Fell off my bike when I was 7. Needed 6 stitches. My father said crying about it was weak, so I learned to stop crying." "That's terrible." "That's William Ashford." "Is that why you're so determined to be different with Maya?" Ryan was quiet for a moment. "I don't want her to grow up thinking emotions are weaknesses, or that asking for help makes you less than. I don't want her to be like me." "You're not weak." "I kissed my assistant to avoid an arranged marriage. That's pretty weak." "You protected yourself from a situation you didn't choose. That's different." Ryan looked at her. "You always do that." "Do what?" "Reframe things. Make them sound less terrible than they are." "Maybe they're not as terrible as you think." They sat there in the quiet office, surrounded by the glow of computer screens and the distant hum of cleaning crews working on other floors. Elena knew she should leave, should put distance between them before this fake relationship started feeling too real. But she didn't move. Neither did Ryan. "I should go," Elena said finally. "Let me drive you." "Ryan, it's fine. I can take the subway." "It's late. I'm driving you." She was too tired to argue. They drove to Queens in comfortable silence. Ryan pulled up in front of Elena's building and put the car in park but didn't turn off the engine. "Thank you," Elena said, "for everything this week. I know it's been a disaster." "You held your own against my father. That's not easy." "I've dealt with worse." Ryan turned to face her. "Tomorrow. At the plaza. Whatever Victoria says, whatever she tries to pull, we're a united front, okay?" "Okay." "I'm serious, Elena. She's going to try to get under your skin, try to make you doubt yourself. Don't let her." "I won't." "Promise?" Elena extended her pinky finger. Ryan stared at it. "Are you serious?" "Completely. Pinky promises are binding." Despite everything, Ryan laughed and linked his pinky with hers. "You're ridiculous. You kissed your assistant to avoid your father's matchmaking. We're both ridiculous." They sat there with their pinkies linked, and for just a moment, Elena forgot this was all pretend. Friday morning arrived too fast. Elena changed outfits 4 times before settling on a simple black dress and the blazer she'd worn to her interview. Professional but not trying too hard. Confident but not showy. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. Her phone rang. Carlos. "I can't talk," she said immediately. "I'm heading to a meeting." "With the billionaire?" "With his ex." "Elena, what the hell is going on? Dad saw the magazines. He's asking questions I can't answer." Guilt twisted in Elena's chest. She'd been so focused on managing the chaos with Ryan that she'd forgotten about her own family. "Tell Dad I'm fine. Tell him I'm happy. Tell him—" She stopped. "Tell him I know what I'm doing." "Do you?" "I have to go." She hung up before Carlos could argue. Ryan picked her up at 11:30. He wore a suit that probably cost more than Elena's monthly rent and looked like he was preparing for war, not lunch. "Ready?" he asked. "No, but let's go anyway." The Plaza Hotel looked like something from a movie, all marble and gold and old money elegance. Ryan gave his name at the restaurant, and they were led to a private table near the windows. Victoria was already there. She wore white, a calculated choice that made her look innocent and pure and absolutely nothing like the woman who'd spent the week leaking stories to the tabloids. Elena knew it was her. The timing was too perfect, the details too specific. "Ryan." "Elena." Victoria smiled. "Thank you for coming." They sat down. A waiter appeared immediately with champagne that no one had ordered. "I hope you don't mind," Victoria said. "I took the liberty." "We mind," Ryan said. "We'll have water." Victoria's smile tightened. "Of course." "How silly of me." The waiter retreated, looking flustered. "So," Victoria said, turning her attention to Elena, "we got off on the wrong foot. I wanted to apologize for my behavior at dinner. I was hurt and jealous, and I took it out on you." The apology was smooth, practiced, completely insincere. "Apology accepted," Elena said evenly. "Good, because I'd hate for there to be tension between us. After all, we'll be seeing quite a bit of each other if you and Ryan are serious." "We are," Ryan said. "How wonderful." Victoria sipped her champagne. "Tell me, Elena, how are you handling all the media attention? It must be overwhelming for someone not used to the spotlight. There it was. The first jab disguised as concern. It's been intense, Elena admitted, but manageable, I'm sure. Though I did see some particularly nasty articles. One suggested you'd targeted Ryan specifically because of his wealth and position. Another implied your entire relationship was fabricated for publicity. Victoria tilted her head. That must be hurtful. It is, Elena said. But people will believe what they want to believe. I know the truth. Ryan knows the truth. That's what matters. Such a mature perspective. Though I suppose you've had to be mature, haven't you, growing up the way you did? Ryan's hand clenched on the table. Victoria, I'm simply saying that Elena has had a very different life experience than us. It's admirable, really. Working multiple jobs, putting herself through school, caring for a sick parent. That kind of hardship builds character. The words were complimentary, but the tone was poison. It does, Elena agreed. It also teaches you to spot manipulation from a mile away. Victoria's smile froze. See, people like you think hardship makes you naive, Elena continued. That if you just say the right words in the right tone, people like me will accept the insult buried inside the compliment. But I've been dealing with people like you my entire life. Teachers who didn't think I belonged in advanced classes. Professors who assumed I only got in through affirmative action. Employers who questioned my credentials because my last name is Cruz. She leaned forward slightly. So when you sit here and try to make me feel small by pointing out my background, all you're doing is showing me exactly who you are. The table went silent. Victoria recovered quickly. I apologize if I offended you. That wasn't my intent. Yes, it was, Elena said calmly, but I appreciate the attempt at backtracking. Ryan was staring at Elena with something like awe. Victoria set down her champagne glass carefully. You know what, Elena? I misjudged you. I thought you were just another opportunist, but you've got spine. I respect that. I don't need your respect. No, but you might need my advice. Victoria looked at Ryan. May I be honest with you both? Have you been dishonest so far? Ryan asked dryly. Fair point. Victoria folded her hands on the table. Here's the truth. My father and William have been business partners for 20 years. They want our families united through marriage because it makes financial sense. But I don't want to marry someone who doesn't love me, Ryan. I never did. Then why agree to the arrangement? Ryan asked. Because I'm a woman in a male-dominated industry trying to prove I'm more than my father's daughter. Marrying you would have given me legitimacy, security, a path to leadership that didn't require fighting for every inch of respect. She looked at Elena. You probably understand that better than Ryan does. Elena did understand. She'd spent her entire career fighting to be taken seriously, fighting to prove she earned her position instead of being handed it. But I've decided I'd rather earn my legitimacy the hard way, Victoria continued, which means I'm done with this arrangement. I'm publicly withdrawing from any potential relationship with Ryan. Why? Ryan asked suspiciously. Because watching you two is exhausting. The way you look at each other, the way you defend each other, the way you... She stopped. I wanted what you have, but I can't fake it. And I won't settle for less. Elena didn't know what to say. This wasn't the confrontation she'd expected. There's just one problem, Victoria said. Our fathers won't accept this gracefully. They'll push back, hard, and they'll use every weapon they have against your relationship. Let them try, Ryan said. They will. And Elena, they'll come after you specifically. Your background, your family, your mother's medical bills and your student loans. They'll paint you as a gold digger until people start believing it. I can handle it, Elena said. Can you? Because it's about to get much worse. Victoria pulled out her phone and showed them a screenshot of an email. This went out this morning to every major publication in New York. Anonymous tip about Elena Cruz, executive assistant at Ashford Industries, who allegedly seduced her billionaire boss for financial gain. Elena felt the blood drain from her face. Who sent it? Ryan demanded. I don't know. But it has my father's fingerprints all over it. Or yours, Ryan. Victoria put her phone away. I wanted to warn you. The story breaks tomorrow morning. You have about 12 hours to get ahead of it. Ryan stood abruptly. We need to go. Ryan, wait. Victoria stood too. I'm sorry. I know you don't believe me, but I am. I never wanted this to turn into a war. Then help us, Elena said suddenly. You have connections, resources. If you really want out of this arrangement, help us prove the story is false. Victoria studied Elena for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. I'll see what I can do. But Elena, you need to understand something. My father and William don't play fair. They'll destroy you if they think it serves their interests. Then it's a good thing I don't break easily. They left the plaza in silence. Outside, photographers were waiting. Cameras flashed. Questions were shouted. Ryan pulled Elena close and navigated through the crowd without saying a word. Once they were in his car, Ryan slammed his hands against the steering wheel. This is out of control. So we get ahead of it. How? The story's already out there. Then we tell our side first. Elena pulled out her phone. You said we needed to sell this relationship, so let's sell it. Really sell it. What are you suggesting? An interview with a major publication. We control the narrative, tell our story the way we want it told. Ryan stared at her. That's actually not a bad idea. I have them occasionally. Who would we talk to? Someone reputable. Someone who won't just run with the gold digger angle. Elena scrolled through her contacts. I know a journalist from Colombia. She writes for the Times. If we give her an exclusive, she might run it fair. Set it up. Elena made the call. By the time they got back to Ryan's office, the interview was scheduled for Sunday. That gave them 2 days to get their story straight. They spent Saturday at Ryan's penthouse, building a timeline of their fake relationship, where they had their first date, what they talked about. When they first kissed for real instead of in front of Ryan's father, Maya was at a friend's house, which meant they could work without interruption. But it also meant they were alone together for hours, sitting close on the couch, inventing memories that didn't exist. Our first date was at that Italian place near your office, Ryan said, typing on his laptop. What did you order? I don't know. What do I like? You like pasta. Something with mushrooms. Elena blinked. How do you know that? You always order the mushroom ravioli when we work late. The fact that he'd noticed made something warm bloom in Elena's chest. They kept working, built out their story, made it detailed and believable and almost real. Around 6 p.m., Ryan ordered food. They ate dinner on the couch, still working, still building their fake history. When did we first say I love you? Elena asked. Ryan paused mid-bite. We haven't gotten there yet in our timeline. Right, but the interviewer might ask. We should have an answer. We could say it's too soon, that we're not there yet. Or we could say it was recent, casual, not a big plan moment. Ryan set down his fork. When would it have happened? Elena thought about it. Maybe last week, after the dinner with your father. I would have said it in the car on the way back to the city. Why then? Because you stood up for me. Because you chose me over the life your father wanted for you. Because... She stopped. Because it would have felt real in that moment. Ryan was very quiet. Then he said, I would have said it back. Yeah? Yeah. Because you walked into that nightmare and didn't run. Because you held your own against Victoria and my father. Because you're the first person in years who's made me feel like I'm more than just my last name. They stared at each other across the coffee table covered in Chinese food containers and scattered notes. We're really good at this fake relationship thing, Elena said quietly. Yeah, we really are. Neither of them acknowledged what was becoming increasingly obvious, that somewhere between the fake kiss at his father's house and this moment on his couch, something had shifted, that the line between pretending and reality had blurred so much they couldn't find it anymore. Sunday morning, the interview ran for 3 hours. The journalist, Amanda Chen, was sharp and thorough. She asked about their first meeting, their first date, how they balanced work and personal life. She asked about Maya, about Ryan's late wife, about the media attention and the accusations. Ryan and Elena answered as a team, their story seamless and consistent. They held hands. They finished each other's sentences. They looked like any other couple in love. When Amanda asked about the gold digger accusations, Elena answered honestly. Of course people assume I'm with Ryan for money. I'm from a poor family. I have student debt. My mother needs expensive medical care. On paper, I look exactly like someone who would target a billionaire. She looked at Ryan. But anyone who actually knows us can see this is real. Ryan didn't fall in love with me because I'm convenient or appropriate. He fell in love with me because I call him on his bullshit and I don't let him hide behind his work. And you? Amanda asked. Why did you fall in love with him? Elena didn't hesitate. Because he's a good father even when it's hard. Because he's honest even when lying would be easier. Because he sees me as a person, not a resume or a background check. Ryan squeezed her hand. The interview ended with a photo shoot. Ryan and Elena standing together, his arm around her waist, both of them smiling like they had a secret the rest of the world would never understand. After Amanda left, they sat in Ryan's living room in exhausted silence. That was intense, Elena said. You were perfect. So were you. Ryan turned to face her. Elena, I need to tell you something. What? He stopped, shook his head. Never mind. It can wait. But Elena saw something in his expression that made her heart race. Something that looked like the truth trying to break through all their carefully constructed lies. Ryan? His phone rang, he checked it and went pale. It's my father. Don't answer it. I have to. He stood and walked to the windows. What do you want? Elena couldn't hear William's side of the conversation, but she could see Ryan's posture change. Tense, defensive, angry. You can't be serious, Ryan said. No, absolutely not. I don't care what you think you have. Elena's not. He listened for another moment. Then do it. See what happens. I'm done being manipulated by you. He hung up and stood there, staring out at the city. What did he say? Elena asked. Ryan turned around. His expression was devastated. He's threatening to pull my position as CEO unless I end our relationship. He says you're a liability the company can't afford. He's calling an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. Elena felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. Then we end it. We tell people it didn't work out. I'll resign. Find another job. No. Ryan, you can't lose your company over this. I'm not losing anything. He's bluffing. What if he's not? Ryan crossed back to her and took both her hands. Then he's not. Elena, I meant what I said in that interview. Every word. You've made me feel alive again for the first time in years. You've helped me be a better father. He stopped. You've become essential. And I'm not giving that up. Not for my father, not for the company, not for anything. Elena stared at him. Ryan, this is fake. Remember? We're pretending. Are we? His voice was quiet. Because it hasn't felt fake for a while now. Not to me. The admission hung in the air between them. What are you saying? Elena whispered. I'm saying I love you. For real. Not for the interview or the cameras or anyone else. Just... He cupped her face gently. Just because you're you. Elena's breath caught. This wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't supposed to happen. Ryan, we can't I know. I know this is complicated and messy and probably the worst idea I've ever had, but I can't keep pretending this is pretend. Not anymore. Elena looked at him. At this man who'd started as her boss and somehow become the most important person in her life. This man who'd defended her against his father, who'd listened when she talked about her mother, who'd noticed she liked mushroom ravioli. I love you too, she said. I think I have for a while now. Ryan kissed her. Not like the first time at his father's house, desperate and panicked. This was slow and deliberate and real. This was them finally admitting what had been building for weeks. When they pulled apart, both of them were breathing hard. What do we do now? Elena asked. We stop pretending, Ryan said. We make this real, and we fight like hell to keep it. Outside the windows, Manhattan glittered in the afternoon sun. Tomorrow would bring William's board meeting, and whatever consequences came with it. But right now, in this moment, Ryan and Elena weren't thinking about consequences. They were just two people who'd started with a lie and somehow found the truth. The board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. Monday. Ryan barely slept Sunday night. He kept running scenarios in his head, what his father would say, how the board would react, what weapons William had prepared. Elena had offered to stay, but Ryan sent her home. This fight was his, not hers. Except it wasn't just his anymore. The moment he'd admitted he loved her, the moment she'd said it back, everything had changed. At 8:30, Ryan walked into the Ashford Tower boardroom. 12 directors sat around the massive table, all of them watching him with varying degrees of curiosity and concern. His father stood at the head of the table like a general preparing for battle. "Ryan," William said, "thank you for joining us." "Did I have a choice?" "We all have choices. The question is whether we make smart ones." Ryan took his seat and waited. Whatever was coming, he'd face it head on. William gestured to one of the board members, Douglas Henshaw, a man in his 60s who'd known Ryan since he was a child. "Douglas, if you would." Henshaw cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Ryan, we've called this meeting to discuss concerns about your recent relationship with Elena Cruz and its impact on the company." "What concerns specifically?" "That your judgment has been compromised, that you've allowed personal feelings to override professional responsibilities, that you've created a hostile work environment by dating a subordinate." "Elena is my executive assistant, not my subordinate in the traditional sense, and our relationship doesn't interfere with our work." "Doesn't it?" William pulled up a screen showing financial reports. "Since this relationship became public, we've lost 3 major clients: the Hendricks account, the Morrison deal, and the Singapore expansion, all citing concerns about leadership stability." Ryan felt his stomach drop but kept his expression neutral. Those accounts were already shaky. Hendricks has been looking for an exit for 6 months. Morrison's CFO got indicted for fraud last week, and Singapore fell through because of regulatory issues, not relationship drama. Nevertheless, the perception exists that you're distracted, that you're prioritizing a romantic entanglement over the company's best interests. "I'm prioritizing my personal life for the first time in 7 years. That doesn't make me distracted. It makes me human." Another board member, Sharon Yates, spoke up. "Ryan, no one is questioning your dedication to this company, but we have to consider optics. Your father has suggested that perhaps stepping back temporarily while this situation resolves itself might be stepping back?" Ryan looked at his father. "You want to remove me as CEO. I want to protect this company," William said. "Something you seem to have forgotten how to do. By forcing me out because I'm dating someone you don't approve of? By ensuring leadership isn't compromised by personal scandal." Ryan stood. The room went quiet. "Let me be very clear," he said. "I built this company into what it is today. When I took over as CEO 7 years ago, revenue was stagnant and innovation was dead. I turned things around. I expanded into new markets, developed new products, increased profits by 40%. I did that while grieving my wife and raising my daughter alone. So don't stand there and tell me I'm not dedicated to this company. No one is disputing your past achievements," Henshaw said gently. "But Ryan, your relationship with Miss Cruz raises legitimate questions. The media attention alone has been damaging. The media attention will die down. It always does." "What if it doesn't?" William leaned forward. "What if this woman is exactly what people think she is? An opportunist who saw a wealthy, vulnerable man and seized her chance?" Ryan's hands clenched at his sides. "Elena is not an opportunist. She's brilliant and hardworking, and she took this job because she needed health insurance for her mother, not because she wanted access to my bank account. How convenient that she ended up in your bed anyway." The room went silent. Ryan's voice went cold. "You're out of line." "Am I? Or am I the only one willing to say what everyone's thinking?" William looked around the table. "This woman came from nothing. She has every financial incentive to manipulate Ryan, and now she's done exactly that. That's enough." Ryan's voice cut through the room like a blade. "You want to remove me as CEO? Fine. Call the vote. But understand something. If you do this, if you force me out because I'm in love with someone who doesn't meet your arbitrary standards of acceptability, I will fight you. I'll tie this company up in legal challenges for years. I'll make sure every major publication knows exactly what kind of man William Ashford really is. Are you threatening me?" "I'm promising you." Father and son stared at each other across the boardroom table. Sharon Yates cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should table this discussion until tempers cool." "Agreed," Henshaw said quickly. "Ryan, we're not trying to attack you. We're trying to protect the company we all care about." "Then trust me," Ryan said. "Trust that I know what I'm doing. Trust that I can handle my personal life without it destroying my professional one." The board members exchanged glances. Ryan could see them wavering, caught between William's pressure and their own loyalty to Ryan. "We'll need time to consider this," Yates said finally. "Ryan, we'll reconvene in 2 weeks with a decision." It wasn't a victory, but it wasn't a defeat either. Ryan walked out of the boardroom feeling like he'd been through a war. His phone buzzed immediately. A text from Elena. "How did it go?" He typed back, "Still employed. For now. That's something. Want to talk?" "Later. I need to clear my head." Instead of going to his office, Ryan left the building and walked. He ended up in Central Park, sitting on a bench watching joggers and dog walkers and tourists taking photos. Normal people living normal lives without board meetings and family drama and impossible choices. His phone rang. Not Elena this time, his grandmother. "You survived," she said without preamble. "Barely." "Your father called me. He's furious." "Good. Ryan, I need to ask you something. This woman, Elena, is she really what you want? Or are you just rebelling against William?" Ryan thought about Elena sleeping in Maya's room after a nightmare. Elena defending herself against Victoria with quiet dignity. Elena admitting she loved him like it scared her. "She's what I want," he said. "She's the first thing I've wanted for myself in years." His grandmother was quiet for a moment. "Then fight for her, but be smart about it. Your father will use every weapon he has." "I know." "Do you? Because William doesn't just want you to end this relationship. He wants to destroy it so thoroughly that you'll never defy him again." "He can try." "He will. And Ryan, be prepared for it to get ugly." She hung up before he could respond. Ryan sat there for another hour, trying to figure out his next move. Finally, he texted Elena. "Can you come over tonight? We need to talk, of course. What time?" 7. "And bring an overnight bag. This might take a while." Elena showed up at 6:50 carrying a small duffel bag and looking nervous. "Maya's at a sleepover," Ryan said, letting her in. "We have the place to ourselves." "Should I be worried?" "Maybe. I don't know yet." They sat on the couch with glasses of wine neither of them drank. "The board wants me to step down," Ryan said. "Not permanently, just temporarily until the situation with Elena Cruz resolves itself." Elena set down her wine glass carefully. "Then I'll quit." "No." "Ryan, I'm not letting you lose your company because of me." "You're not. My father is trying to make me lose my company because I won't let him control my life. There's a difference." "A difference that ends with you being forced out as CEO." Ryan took her hand. "Elena, I've spent 7 years doing everything my father wanted, running the company his way, living the life he chose, being the son he demanded I be, and I was miserable. Then you walked into my office, and for the first time since Sarah died, I remembered what it felt like to actually want something. This isn't about wanting me. This is about defying your father. It's both. It's all of it. It's me finally choosing myself instead of the legacy and the expectations and all the bullshit that comes with being an Ashford." He squeezed her hand. "I'm not giving you up. Not for the board, not for my father, not for anyone." Elena's eyes were bright with tears. "What if you regret it? What if 6 months from now you realize I'm not worth losing everything?" "You are worth it. And this isn't losing everything. It's choosing what actually matters." She kissed him then, hard and desperate and full of all the fear and hope neither of them could put into words. When they pulled apart, Elena said, "So what do we do?" "We fight. We prove to the board that I can handle both the company and a relationship. We show my father he doesn't control me anymore." "How?" Ryan had been thinking about this all day. "You start your own consulting business. You keep working as my assistant for now, but you build something separate, something that's yours. That way, when people accuse you of using me for money, you have your own success to point to." Elena stared at him. "Ryan, starting a business takes capital, resources I don't have. You have connections, you have skills, and you have me." He pulled out his laptop. "I've already talked to 5 companies that would hire you as a consultant. They're willing to pay your rate, whatever you set it. You can't just buy me a business. I'm not buying you anything. I'm opening doors. What you do with them is up to you." Elena looked at the screen where Ryan had outlined potential clients, projected revenue, startup costs. He'd done all this today, while his own career was on the line. This is insane, she said. Probably. But it might work. They spent the next 3 hours building a business plan. Elena would consult on international expansion and cross-cultural business strategy. She'd work evenings and weekends initially, building a client base while keeping her day job. Within 6 months, she'd hopefully have enough income to go independent. It was ambitious and risky and maybe impossible. But it was also Elena's. Not Ryan's, not his father's. Hers. Around midnight, they finally closed the laptop. I can't believe we just did that, Elena said. Believe it. You're officially an entrepreneur. I'm officially insane. Ryan pulled her close. Welcome to the club. They fell asleep on the couch, tangled together, exhausted but hopeful. The next morning, Elena woke up to find Ryan making breakfast. Actual breakfast. Eggs and toast and coffee. You cook? She asked, stumbling into the kitchen. Occasionally, usually when I'm stressed and can't sleep. How long have you been awake? Since 5. I've already sent emails to 3 of the consulting clients. 2 have already responded wanting to schedule meetings. Elena took the coffee he offered. You're really serious about this. I'm serious about you. The business is just a bonus. Over the next few weeks, Elena's life became a blur of day jobs and night meetings. She'd work for Ryan from 8 to 6, then meet with potential clients until 9 or 10. Weekends were spent building proposals and refining her pitch. It was exhausting, but it was also exhilarating. Her first official client was a tech startup looking to expand into Latin America. They paid her $5,000 for a market analysis and strategic recommendations. When the check cleared, Elena called Ryan at 2 a.m. I did it, she said. I actually did it. I never doubted you. I did. I doubted myself constantly. I know. But you did it anyway. That's what matters. Elena hung up and stared at the check. $5,000 she'd earned completely on her own. It wasn't enough to quit her day job, but it was a start. She called her brother next. Do you know what time it is? Carlos mumbled. I got my first client. Your what? My first consulting client. I'm starting a business. Carlos was quiet for a moment. Elena, what is happening with you? First the billionaire boyfriend, now this. Are you okay? I'm better than okay. I'm finally building something that's mine. Does this have anything to do with all the tabloid stuff? Because Dad's been asking questions I can't answer. Guilt twisted in Elena's stomach. She'd been so focused on work and Ryan and the board drama that she'd barely talked to her family in weeks. Can we have lunch this weekend? She asked. I'll explain everything. You better. Dad thinks you've lost your mind. Saturday afternoon, Elena met her father and brother at their favorite taqueria in Queens. Miguel Cruz looked older than Elena remembered, more gray in his hair, deeper lines around his eyes. Construction work aged you fast. Mija, he said, pulling her into a hug. We've been worried. I'm fine, Papa. I promise. They ordered food and Elena tried to figure out how to explain the last 2 months of her life. So, Carlos said, the billionaire. That's real? It's real. And you love him? Her father asked quietly. I do. Miguel studied her face. He treats you well? He does. Elena searched for the right words. He's a good man, a good father. He sees me for who I am, not where I came from. And his family, they accept you? Elena hesitated. His father doesn't. But we're working through it. Working through it, Carlos repeated. Elena, we saw the articles, the ones calling you a gold digger, the ones questioning your motives. That's not working through it. That's war. I know it looks bad. It doesn't just look bad. It is bad. Her father set down his taco. Mija, I've worked for rich men my whole life. I've seen how they treat people like us. You think this man's family will ever really accept you? I don't care if they accept me. I care about Ryan and his daughter. They're what matters. What about your mother? Miguel asked. Have you visited her this month? The question landed like a punch. Elena had visited her mother exactly once in the last 4 weeks. I've been busy. Too busy for your mother? Papa, that's not fair. Fair. You want to talk about fair? Miguel's voice rose. Your mother worked herself sick taking care of you and your brother. She cleaned houses and worked night shifts so you could go to good schools. And now that you've got a rich boyfriend, you forget about her? I haven't forgotten about her. I'm paying her medical bills. I visit when I can. When you can, Miguel repeated bitterly. Your brother visits her 3 times a week. I visit every day after work. But you're too busy building your new life. Elena felt tears burning behind her eyes. I'm trying to build something sustainable, something that means I can keep paying those medical bills long term. I'm not abandoning anyone. It feels like abandonment, Carlos said quietly. To us. Maybe to Mom, too. The words broke something inside Elena. She'd been so focused on proving herself, to Ryan's father, to the board, to Victoria, to everyone who doubted her, that she'd stopped taking care of the people who'd never doubted her at all. I'm sorry, she whispered. You're right. I've been so caught up in everything else that I've let the important things slide. Miguel's expression softened. Mija, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to remind you who you are. You're not some society girl who can forget where she came from. You're Elena Cruz. You're the daughter of immigrants who worked for everything they have. Don't lose that. I won't. I promise. But even as she said it, Elena wondered if she already had. That night, she visited her mother at the care facility. Maria Cruz sat by the window, staring out at nothing. Some days she remembered Elena. Some days she didn't. Mama? Elena sat down beside her. It's me, Elena. Maria turned slowly. For a moment her eyes were blank, then recognition flickered. Mija, you came. Of course I came. You're so pretty. Are you going somewhere special? Elena was wearing jeans and a sweater, nothing special at all. But to her mother, maybe she looked dressed up. Maybe time had blurred and Elena was getting ready for prom or graduation or her first day of college. No, Mama, I'm just here to visit you. They sat together in silence for a while. Then Maria said, You look sad. What's wrong? Elena hadn't expected the question, hadn't expected her mother to be lucid enough to notice. I'm okay. Just tired. You work too hard. Just like your father. Someone has to pay the bills. Maria took Elena's hand. Her grip was weak but steady. Money isn't everything, Mija. I learned that too late. I worked so hard to give you and Carlos opportunities, but I missed so much time with you, so many moments I can't get back. You did what you had to do. So are you, but don't make my mistakes. Don't forget to live while you're busy surviving. The words stayed with Elena long after she left the facility. She drove back to Manhattan in a daze, thinking about her mother's warning, about her father's disappointment, about the life she was building and the life she was leaving behind. Ryan was waiting at his penthouse when she arrived. How did it go? He asked. Badly. My father thinks I'm abandoning my family for you. My brother thinks I've lost my mind. And my mother, Elena's voice broke. My mother told me not to forget to live while I'm busy surviving. Ryan pulled her into his arms. I'm sorry. For what? You didn't do anything wrong. I pulled you into this world, this chaos. Elena pulled back to look at him. I chose this, all of it. The relationship, the business, the complications. That's on me. Still, if I could make it easier, life isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to matter. Elena wiped her eyes. I just need to figure out how to balance it all. We'll figure it out together. Over the next month, Elena tried. She visited her mother twice a week. She had dinner with her father and brother every Sunday. She kept building her consulting business while working for Ryan during the day. It was brutal and exhausting and sometimes felt impossible. But slowly, things started to shift. The New York Times article about Elena and Ryan ran in early November. It was fair and balanced and painted them as a couple navigating difficult circumstances with grace. The public response was surprisingly positive. Some people still called Elena a gold digger, but more people saw them as proof that love didn't care about tax brackets. The board meeting reconvened in mid-November. This time, Ryan came prepared with quarterly reports showing that despite the media attention, the company was thriving. Revenue was up. Client retention was strong. New contracts were being signed. William tried to argue that it was temporary, that the damage would show up later. But the numbers didn't lie. The board voted to keep Ryan as CEO, 11-1. The only dissenting vote was Williams. That night, Ryan took Elena to dinner at a small restaurant in Brooklyn, far from the Manhattan social scene. "We won," he said, raising his glass. "You won. I just didn't drag you down." "That's not how this works. We're a team." Elena clinked her glass against his. "A team. I like that." They ate and talked, and for the first time in months, Elena felt like she could breathe. Later, back at Ryan's penthouse, Maya was waiting up. She sat on the couch in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Hey, kiddo," Ryan said. "You should be asleep." "I wanted to wait for you, both of you." Elena sat down next to her. "What's up?" Maya looked between them nervously. "Are you guys getting married?" The question caught both adults off guard. "We haven't talked about that," Ryan said carefully. "But you love each other, right? That's what people who love each other do. They get married." Elena glanced at Ryan, unsure how to answer. "It's more complicated than that, Maya," Ryan said. "Adults have to think about a lot of things before they get married." "Like what?" "Like timing, and making sure we're ready, and—" "I think you should get married," Maya interrupted. "Because Elena makes you happy, and she's nice to me, and she stayed when I had that nightmare, and I think—" Her voice got very small. "I think Mommy would like her." Ryan's eyes went bright with tears. He pulled Maya into his arms. "Yeah, baby. I think Mommy would like her too." Elena felt her own tears starting. This little girl who'd lost so much was giving them permission to build something new. It was the most generous thing anyone had ever done for her. "Thank you, Maya," Elena said quietly. "That means everything." Maya pulled away from Ryan and looked at Elena seriously. "So, you'll stay? You won't leave like Mommy did?" "I'll stay. I promise." "Even when Dad's grumpy?" Despite the tears, Elena laughed. "Even when he's grumpy." "He's grumpy a lot." "Hey," Ryan protested. "It's true," Maya insisted. "You get this face." She scrunched up her expression in an exaggerated frown. "I do not look like that." "You totally do," Elena agreed. They spent the next hour just being together, watching a movie, eating popcorn, arguing about whether Maya could stay up past her bedtime. Normal family things that felt extraordinary because they were building it from scratch. After Maya finally fell asleep, Ryan and Elena stood in the hallway outside her room. "That was unexpected," Ryan said. "She basically just proposed for you." "Yeah, how do you feel about that?" Elena thought about it. "Terrified, but in a good way." "Good terrified?" "Yeah, the kind where you're scared because you want something so much that losing it would break you." Ryan pulled her close. "I want to marry you, not because Maya suggested it, not to prove anything to my father or the board or anyone else, just because I can't imagine my life without you in it." "That's not a proposal, right? Because if it is, it needs work." He laughed. "No, when I propose, it'll be better than this. I'll plan something romantic and memorable, and I'll probably cry and ruin my makeup. Probably." They stood there in the quiet hallway, and Elena realized this was it. This was the life she'd been fighting for. Not the penthouse or the money or the status, just this, Ryan and Maya and the possibility of building something real. 2 weeks later, Elena signed her third major consulting contract. Between the 3 clients, she was making enough to quit her day job at Ashford Industries. She didn't. Instead, she and Ryan restructured her role. She became a strategic advisor, working 20 hours a week on special projects while building her consulting business on the side. It was unconventional, but it worked. Patricia threw her a small party when the news went public. Half the office showed up, including people who'd whispered about Elena being a gold digger just months earlier. "Congratulations," Patricia said, hugging her. "You earned this. Thanks. For everything. For believing me when no one else did." "I didn't believe you at first," Patricia admitted. "I thought you were crazy for getting involved with Ryan, but you proved me wrong. You proved everyone wrong." That night, Elena went to dinner with her family again. This time, she brought Ryan and Maya. Miguel Cruz sized up Ryan like he was inspecting a building foundation. "So you're the billionaire?" "Yes, sir." "You hurt my daughter. I don't care how much money you have. Understand?" "Understood," Carlos laughed. "Dad, you can't threaten him. He probably has lawyers." I don't care about lawyers. I care about my daughter. Ryan met Miguel's eyes steadily. So do I, sir. I love her. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving she made the right choice. Miguel studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded. Good. Now sit down and eat. Elena says you like tamales. The dinner was chaotic and loud and perfect. Maya charmed everyone by speaking Spanish she'd learned from Mrs. Chen. Carlos interrogated Ryan about business. Miguel told embarrassing stories about Elena's childhood. Watching her two worlds collide, Elena felt something settle in her chest. This was possible. All of it. The fancy penthouse and the Queen's Taqueria, the board meetings and the family dinners, the life she'd built and the life she'd come from. She could have both. She could be both. As they left the restaurant, Ryan took her hand. That went well. My father threatened you. Barely. I was expecting worse. Just wait until Christmas. He'll really grill you then. Ryan stopped walking. Elena Cruz, did you just invite me to Christmas with your family? Maybe. Is that okay? It's perfect. They walked through Queens holding hands while Maya skipped ahead, and Elena thought about how far they'd come. From a fake kiss at his father's house to this, real love, real family, real life. It wasn't perfect. They still fought with William. The tabloids still ran stories. The board still questioned some of Ryan's decisions. But they had each other. And they had Maya. And they had this life they were building together, one difficult choice at a time. In late December, Ryan proposed. Not at some fancy restaurant or exotic vacation spot. He proposed in Elena's tiny apartment in Queens, surrounded by boxes from her consulting business and her mother's old furniture and all the messy reality of who she really was. This is where it started for you, he said, getting down on one knee. This apartment, this neighborhood, this life. I don't want you to leave it behind. I want you to bring it with you, all of it. Your family, your history, your dreams. I want to build something that honors where you came from and where we're going together. Elena was crying before he even opened the ring box. Elena Cruz, will you marry me? Yes. Of course, yes. The ring was beautiful but not ostentatious. Elegant but not showy. Exactly right. They got married 3 months later in a small ceremony that mixed both their worlds. Miguel walked Elena down the aisle while Ryan's grandmother sat in the front row beaming. Carlos was the best man. Maya was the flower girl. Victoria Blackwell sent an expensive gift and a note saying she'd been wrong about everything. William didn't attend. But he did send a card that simply said, I hope you're happy. It was the closest he'd ever come to approval. The reception was held at a community center in Queens rather than some Manhattan ballroom. They served tamales and champagne. A mariachi band played alongside a string quartet. Elena's mother had a good day and danced with Ryan, telling him to take care of her baby girl. It was chaotic and imperfect and absolutely perfect. Later, after the guests had left and Maya had fallen asleep in the car on the way home, Ryan and Elena stood on the balcony of his penthouse, looking out at the city. We did it, Elena said. We're doing it. Present tense. This is just the beginning. The beginning of what? Everything. Our life, our family, all of it. Elena leaned against him, feeling his heartbeat steady under her cheek. I love you. I love you too, even when you're grumpy. I'm not grumpy. You totally are. They stood there as Manhattan glittered below them, two people who'd started with a desperate lie and found something true. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. It never was. But they'd face it together, and that made all the difference. 1 year into their marriage, Elena woke up to find Ryan already gone. It was 6 a.m. on a Tuesday, early enough that the city outside their windows was still mostly dark. She found him in his home office, staring at his laptop with the kind of expression that meant something had gone very wrong. What happened? She asked from the doorway. Ryan looked up. He hadn't slept. She could tell from the shadows under his eyes and the coffee mug that had been refilled too many times. My father had a heart attack last night. He's in the hospital. Elena crossed the room and put her hand on his shoulder. Is he okay? Stable, for now. My grandmother called an hour ago. She wants me to come to Connecticut. Then we should go. Elena, you don't have to, Yes, I do. He's your father. You're going. I'm going with you. Ryan looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. I'll tell Maya. She'll want to come too. They drove to Connecticut in tense silence. Maya sat in the back seat reading a book, but Elena could tell she was listening to every word they didn't say. The girl had gotten good at reading silences over the past year. The Ashford estate looked different in winter. Stark. The trees were bare, the gardens dormant. It matched the mood perfectly. Ryan's grandmother met them at the door. She looked older than Elena remembered, worn down by worry. "He's asking for you," she said to Ryan. "Both of you." "Both?" Ryan frowned. "Why would he want to see Elena?" "I don't know, but he was very specific." They left Maya with Mrs. Chen and drove to the hospital. William was in a private room on the cardiac floor, hooked up to machines that beeped steadily. He looked smaller somehow, diminished by the hospital bed and the medical equipment. "Ryan," he said when they entered. His voice was weaker than Elena had ever heard it. "Father, how are you feeling?" "Like I had a heart attack." William's eyes moved to Elena. "Thank you for coming." Elena was so surprised she almost didn't answer. "Of course." "I need to say something, before—" He stopped, gathering strength. "Before it's too late." Ryan moved closer to the bed. "You're going to be fine. The doctor said, the doctors are optimistic because that's their job. But I'm 72 years old and my heart is failing. Let me say this while I can." He gestured for them to sit. Elena took the chair by the window while Ryan stood at his father's bedside. "I was wrong about you," William said, looking at Elena. "About your relationship with my son. About your intentions. I assumed you were using him because that's what people in my world do. They use each other. But you didn't." "Mr. Ashford, let me finish, please." He took a labored breath. "I've spent the last year watching you build your own company, watching you support Ryan without overshadowing him, watching you care for Maya like she's your own daughter. And I realized something. You're not the problem. I am." Ryan's hand tightened on the bed rail. "I tried to control you," William continued, looking at his son now. "The way my father controlled me. The way his father controlled him. I thought that's what fathers did. They shaped their sons into what the world needed them to be. But I was wrong. I didn't shape you. I damaged you. And I'm sorry." The apology hung in the air like something fragile and unexpected. "You don't have to apologize," Ryan said quietly. "Yes, I do. I spent so long trying to make you into a younger version of me that I never stopped to see who you actually were. You're a better man than I ever was. A better father, a better leader. And you're that way in spite of me, not because of me." Elena watched tears slide down Ryan's face. She'd never seen him cry before. "I don't know how much time I have left," William said, "but I'd like to spend it making amends instead of making things worse. If you'll let me." Ryan nodded, unable to speak. William turned to Elena again. "And you. I owe you the biggest apology. I treated you terribly. I questioned your character, your motives, your worth. I was cruel and dismissive and completely wrong. You've been good for my son, good for my granddaughter, good for this family. I'm sorry it took me so long to see that." Elena felt her own tears starting. "Thank you. That means more than you know." They sat with William for another hour, talking about small things. Maya's progress in school, the company's quarterly reports, plans for the holidays, normal family conversation that felt extraordinary because it was the first time they'd ever had it. When they finally left, Ryan was quiet on the drive back to the estate. "You okay?" Elena asked. "I don't know. That felt like closure, but he's not dying. The doctor said he'll probably recover fully with some lifestyle changes. Maybe that's the point. He wanted to make amends while he still could, instead of waiting until it was too late. He spent a year being horrible to you. One apology doesn't erase that." "No, but it's a start." Elena took Ryan's hand. "People change, Ryan. Sometimes it takes something drastic to make them see what they've been missing. Your father had a heart attack. That tends to shift perspective." They picked up Maya and drove back to Manhattan. That night, after Maya was asleep, Ryan and Elena lay in bed talking. "I keep thinking about what he said," Ryan admitted, "about damaging me, about trying to control me. Do you think it's true?" "Some of it. He was hard on me growing up, expected perfection, never accepted anything less. But I also learned a lot from him, how to run a company, how to negotiate, how to survive in a world that doesn't care about your feelings. Those things don't require emotional abuse. No, they don't. Ryan was quiet for a moment. I don't want to be like that with Maya, or with any kids we might have. The casual mention of future children made Elena's heart skip. They'd talked about it abstractly, but never this directly. Any kids we might have? She repeated. Ryan turned to face her. Yeah, I mean, if you want. I know we haven't really discussed. I want kids. With you. With Maya as their big sister. I want all of it. Yeah? Yeah. They kissed, and the conversation shifted to other things. But later, lying in the dark, Elena thought about what kind of parents they'd be, what kind of family they were building. It felt fragile and precious and completely worth fighting for. Over the next few months, William's recovery became the family project. He had to change his diet, exercise more, reduce stress. Ryan's grandmother oversaw everything with military precision, and to everyone's surprise, William actually followed orders. Even more surprising, he started showing up to Sunday dinners. The first time it happened, Elena nearly dropped the serving dish she was carrying. William Ashford, sitting at their table in the penthouse, eating pot roast and making awkward small talk with Maya. This is weird, Elena whispered to Ryan in the kitchen. Extremely weird. Should we be worried? Probably, but let's see where it goes. Where it went was gradually better. William started asking about Elena's consulting business without the edge of judgment he used to carry. He brought Maya books and didn't comment when she told him about her day in exhaustive detail. He even apologized to Elena's father when they met at Maya's school play. I wasn't fair to your daughter, William said to Miguel Cruz while they waited in the auditorium for the performance to start. I made assumptions based on class and background instead of character. That was wrong. Miguel studied him warily. You were protecting your son. I understand that. Protecting him from the best thing that ever happened to him? That's not protection. That's fear. Fear of what? Fear of losing control. Fear of him making choices I didn't approve of. Fear that he'd turn out different from what I'd planned. William looked at the stage where Maya would soon perform. But different isn't bad, it's just different. Took me 72 years to learn that. Elena, overhearing this from her seat, felt something loosen in her chest. William wasn't perfect. He still had moments of arrogance and control, but he was trying. That counted for something. Maya's performance was chaotic and charming. She played a tree in the school's production of an environmental awareness play, and she took the role extremely seriously. Afterwards, both grandfathers congratulated her with equal enthusiasm. You were the best tree, Miguel told her. The most realistic tree I've ever seen, William added. Maya beamed. I practiced my tree face in the mirror for 2 weeks. Watching her navigate between her two grandfathers, one in work boots and the other in a custom suit, Elena was struck by how seamlessly Maya moved between worlds. She was equally comfortable at her grandfather Miguel's construction sites and her grandfather William's country club. She didn't see the differences as barriers. She just saw family. Maybe that was the lesson. Not that differences didn't exist, but that they didn't have to divide. In the spring, Elena's consulting firm landed its biggest contract yet. A major corporation wanted her to oversee their entire Latin American expansion strategy. The contract was worth $500,000 over 2 years. She called Ryan from her office, barely able to contain her excitement. I got it. I actually got it. I knew you would. This is huge, Ryan. This means I can hire 2 full-time employees, get a real office instead of working from coffee shops. This is... She stopped. This is everything I've been working toward. I'm proud of you. You sound weird. Are you okay? I'm fine. Just thinking. About what? About how far you've come. About how you did all this on your own. Elena heard something in his voice that made her pause. Ryan, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Can we talk when you get home? She agreed, but spent the rest of the day anxious. When she got back to the penthouse that evening, she found Ryan sitting at the piano in the living room. He didn't play often, said he was terrible at it, but sometimes when he was thinking through something difficult, he'd sit there and pick out simple melodies. Okay, Elena said, sitting next to him on the bench. What's going on? Ryan didn't stop playing. I've been thinking about the company, about my role, about what I actually want. And I think I want to step back. Elena stared at him. Step back from Ashford Industries? Ryan, that's your company. It's my father's company. I just run it. You built it into what it is today. I know, and I'm proud of that. But Elena, I've been CEO for almost 8 years. I've spent that entire time proving something to my father, to the board, to everyone who thought I couldn't handle it. And I did handle it. I proved whatever needed proving. But I'm tired. Tired of what? Tired of living for the company instead of my family. Tired of missing Maya's school events because of board meetings. Tired of working 80-hour weeks because that's what's expected. He finally stopped playing and looked at her. I want to do what you did. Start something new, something that's mine. Like what? I don't know yet. Maybe venture capital for startups. Maybe business consulting like you. Maybe something completely different. But I want to choose it instead of inheriting it. Elena took his hand. Have you told your father? Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. What do you think he'll say? Honestly, I don't know. The old William would have lost his mind, but this new version, he might actually understand. They sat at the piano together, both of them thinking about the enormous shift Ryan was proposing. Are you scared? Elena asked. Terrified. This is all I've known since Sarah died. The company gave me purpose when I couldn't find it anywhere else. And now? Now I have you and Maya and a life outside of quarterly earnings reports. I want to explore that. Before Maya grows up and I've missed it all. Elena leaned her head on his shoulder. Then do it. We'll figure it out together. Ryan told his father 2 weeks later over lunch at the estate. To his credit, William listened without interrupting. I'm not quitting, Ryan clarified. I'm transitioning. I'll stay on as CEO for another year to make sure the succession is smooth. But then I want to move into an advisory role, chairman of the board maybe. Something that lets me have input without the daily grind. William was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Who would replace you? I have some ideas. Sharon Yates has been on the board for 10 years. She knows the company inside and out. Or we could do an external search. You've really thought this through. I have. William nodded slowly. Then I support it. Ryan blinked. Just like that? Just like that. Ryan, I spent my entire life chained to that company. It cost me my marriage, my relationship with you, years of happiness I'll never get back. If you're smart enough to walk away before it costs you the same, then you're smarter than I ever was. I'm not walking away. I'm just rebalancing. Same thing. William smiled slightly. Besides, watching you try to do something different might give me ideas for my retirement. You're retiring. Eventually, maybe, I don't know. William looked out the windows at the gardens coming back to life after winter. I'm learning that there's more to life than board meetings and profit margins. Took me long enough. The transition was announced publicly in June. The business press had opinions, some praising Ryan's decision, others questioning it. But mostly, people seemed to understand. He'd given 8 years to the company. He'd earned the right to choose something else. Sharon Yates was named CEO designate and spent the next months shadowing Ryan, learning everything he knew. She was sharp and capable and exactly what the company needed. On Ryan's last official day as CEO, the company threw him a party. Hundreds of employees showed up, many of them people Elena had never met. They told stories about Ryan's leadership, his vision, his willingness to take risks when safer options were available. He changed this company, one executive said during the speeches. Made it more innovative, more inclusive, more human. We're better because of him. Elena watched Ryan accept the praise with his usual discomfort. He'd never been good at taking compliments, but she could see pride there too. Pride in what he'd built, even if he was ready to build something else now. That night, they celebrated quietly at home with Maya and both their families. Miguel and William sat at opposite ends of the dinner table, occasionally making awkward but genuine conversation. Carlos interrogated Ryan about his next venture with real interest. Ryan's grandmother told stories about Ryan as a child that made Maya laugh so hard she nearly fell off her chair. It was chaotic and imperfect, and exactly what family was supposed to be. Later, after everyone had gone home and Maya was asleep, Ryan and Elena sat on their balcony looking out at Manhattan. How does it feel? Elena asked. Scary. Liberating. Both. Any regrets? Ryan thought about it. No, I did what I needed to do, proved what I needed to prove. Now it's time for something new. What does that look like? I don't know yet. Maybe I'll take some time off. Actually spend time with Maya. Travel. Figure out what I want instead of what everyone else expects. That sounds nice. Come with me. Elena turned to look at him. What? Come with me. You can run your business from anywhere. We could take 3 months, 6 months, travel with Maya, see the world, be a family outside of Manhattan and board meetings and all of this. Ryan, I just signed a huge contract. I can't just leave. Why not? You have employees now. You can delegate, and most of your work is virtual anyway. Elena opened her mouth to argue, then stopped. He was right. She could run her business remotely. She'd built it to be flexible specifically so she'd have freedom. So why was her first instinct to say no? I'm scared, she admitted. Of what? Of stopping. Of slowing down. I've spent my entire life fighting for scholarships, for jobs, for respect, for survival. I don't know how to just be. Ryan took her hand. Then let's learn together. They spent the next week planning. Where they'd go, what they'd see, how long they'd be gone. Maya was ecstatic about missing school for adventure. Elena's clients were surprisingly supportive when she explained she'd be working remotely for a few months. Only her father had reservations. You're running away? Miguel asked when Elena told him over Sunday dinner. No, we're taking a break. There's a difference. Sounds like running to me. Papa, I've been working nonstop for 15 years. I think I've earned a vacation. A 3-month vacation? Why not? You always told me life was short, that I should make time for what matters. Well, this matters. My family matters. Miguel was quiet for a moment, then he nodded. You're right. I did say that. Just make sure you come back. Of course we're coming back. This is home. They left in September. 3 months planned, destinations loose, itinerary flexible. They started in Mexico, visiting the village where Elena's grandparents had been born. Maya learned to make tortillas from distant cousins. Ryan practiced his terrible Spanish. Elena stood in the church where her grandmother had gotten married and felt connected to something bigger than herself. From there, they went to Paris, then Barcelona, then Rome. They visited museums and ate too much gelato and got lost in cities where none of them spoke the language particularly well. Maya flourished. She made friends everywhere they went, other traveling kids, local children, stray cats. She collected postcards and rocks and memories. Elena watched her stepdaughter bloom into confidence and thought about how much Maya had changed in the 2 years since that first nightmare. She wasn't the withdrawn, anxious child anymore. She was brave and curious and happy. You did that, Ryan said one night in their hotel room in Florence while Maya slept in the adjoining room. Did what? Gave her that confidence, that security. Before you, she was barely holding on. Now look at her. That's not just me. That's you being present. That's your father actually trying to be a grandfather. That's all of us. Maybe. But you started it. Elena thought about that. About how one decision, one fake kiss at a disastrous dinner had led to all of this. To healing and growth and second chances. They spent Christmas in London, where snow fell on cobblestone streets, and Maya declared it the best Christmas ever. They spent New Year's in Prague, watching fireworks over the castle. They spent January in Thailand, learning to cook traditional dishes and visiting elephant sanctuaries. Somewhere in Vietnam, 3 months turned into 4, then 5. We should probably go home, Elena said without much conviction. Probably, Ryan agreed, but not yet. They stayed until spring, returning to New York in April, with suitcases full of souvenirs and hearts full of memories. The penthouse felt different when they walked back in. Smaller, maybe, or just less important. It was a beautiful space, but it wasn't where they'd lived for the past 7 months. They'd lived in hotels and hostels and rental apartments. They'd lived in motion. I don't want to stop, Maya announced on their second day back. Stop what? Ryan asked. Traveling, seeing things. I want to keep going. We can travel more, Elena assured her. But you need to go back to school, see your friends. Have a routine. Routines are boring. Sometimes boring is good. Maya made a face but didn't argue. Elena went back to work, her consulting business running smoothly despite her absence. Her employees had handled everything beautifully. She promoted one of them to managing director and gave herself the title of founder and chairman. Let someone else handle the daily operations while she focused on strategy and big picture vision. Ryan started his new venture, a fund that invested in socially responsible startups. Companies focused on education, healthcare access, environmental sustainability, things that mattered beyond profit margins. Life settled into a new rhythm, different from before, but good different. William's health remained stable. He'd started seeing a therapist, which shocked everyone, and actually talked about his feelings, occasionally. He took Maya to museums and let her explain the art to him, even when she was obviously making things up. Elena's mother had more bad days than good now, but on the good days, she remembered Elena's wedding, remembered Ryan and Maya, remembered being happy. One Saturday afternoon in June, almost exactly 2 years after their wedding, Ryan found Elena in Maya's room, helping her pack for summer camp. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Sure. What's up?" "I've been thinking about something." Elena sat down on Maya's bed, which was covered in clothes and camping gear. "That sounds ominous." "It's not ominous, it's just—" Ryan ran his hand through his hair. A nervous gesture Elena had learned meant he was about to say something important. "I want to adopt Maya. Officially, legally." Elena's breath caught. "Ryan, she's already yours." "I know, but I want it to be official. I want her to have my name if she wants it. I want to make sure that if anything ever happens to me, there's no question about custody or guardianship or any of that legal mess." "Have you talked to Maya about this?" "Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first. Make sure you were okay with it." "Why wouldn't I be okay with it?" "Because Sarah was her mother. Adopting Maya feels like it might erase that somehow, and I don't want to—" Elena took his hand. "Adopting Maya doesn't erase Sarah. It honors her by making sure her daughter always has a family, always has stability and love and legal protection. Sarah would want that." Ryan's eyes were wet. "Yeah, she would. So let's talk to Maya, see what she thinks." They found Maya in the kitchen, making herself a sandwich that consisted primarily of peanut butter and very little bread. "Hey, kiddo," Ryan said, sitting at the counter. "Can we talk to you about something?" Maya looked up suspiciously. "Am I in trouble?" "No, nothing like that." Ryan glanced at Elena, who nodded encouragingly. "I wanted to ask you something about your name." "What about it?" "Your legal name right now is Maya Ashford, but that's because you were born in Ashford, not because we went through the official adoption process." Maya set down her sandwich. "What's adoption process?" "It's when someone who isn't your biological parent becomes your legal parent, with papers and a judge and everything official." "Like when kids in movies get adopted?" "Exactly like that." Maya thought about this. "But you're already my dad." "I know, but legally, technically, I'm your father because I was married to your mom. If I want to be your father officially, I need to adopt you, which means going to court and making it legal." "Would it change anything?" "Not really. You'd still be Maya, still be my daughter, still be part of this family. It would just be official." Maya picked at her sandwich crust. "Would I have to change my last name?" "Only if you wanted to. You could keep Ashford, or you could be Maya Cruz Ashford, or something else entirely. It's your choice." "What about Mom? She gave me the name Ashford." Ryan swallowed hard. "She did, and that's important. But your mom would want you to be safe and protected. Adoption makes sure that happens. Make sure no one can ever question that you're my daughter and Elena's daughter and part of this family forever." Maya looked at Elena. "You'd be my mom? Officially?" Elena felt tears burning behind her eyes. "If you want me to be, I know I'm not your first mom, but I'd be honored to be your mom now." "You already act like my mom. You make me do homework and eat vegetables and all the annoying mom stuff." Despite the tears, Elena laughed. "I do, don't I?" "Yeah. So I guess you're already my mom. We just need the papers." "Is that a yes?" Ryan asked. "You want us to start the adoption process?" Maya nodded. "But I want to keep Ashford in my name. Maybe Maya Ashford Cruz. So I have mom and dad and everyone." "That's perfect," Elena said. The adoption process took 3 months. There were forms and court dates and a judge who asked Maya if this was really what she wanted. Maya, wearing her favorite dress with the pockets, Told the judge that Elena made the best pancakes and helped with homework and stayed when she had nightmares. So yes, she wanted Elena to be her mom officially. The judge approved the adoption on a Tuesday morning in September. They celebrated with pancakes at a diner near the courthouse, Maya wearing a t-shirt that said, "Officially an Ashford Cruise," that Carlos had made for her. "How does it feel?" Elena asked. Maya thought about it seriously. "The same, but also different, like when you know something for sure instead of just thinking it." That night, after Maya was asleep, Elena and Ryan sat in the living room going through the adoption papers. "She's really yours now," Ryan said. "Legally, officially, all of it. She was always mine. This just makes it official." "I know, but Elena, thank you for choosing us, for staying even when it was hard, for loving her like she's yours. She is mine. That's not something I had to choose. That's just what happened." They sat in comfortable silence, looking at the legal documents that transformed their family from circumstantial to intentional. Ryan's phone buzzed, a text from his father. "Congratulations on the adoption. Maya is lucky to have both of you." Elena read over his shoulder and smiled. "He's really trying." "Yeah, he is." "Do you think he's changed? Really changed?" Ryan thought about it. "I think he's trying to change, which is more than he's done in 70 years. That counts for something." Outside their windows, Manhattan glittered with possibilities. Somewhere in that city, thousands of families were dealing with their own complications, their own messy histories and imperfect people trying to do better. Elena thought about her mother in the care facility, her mind slipping away but her love still present. About her father working construction sites at 65 because retirement wasn't an option. About Ryan's father learning to apologize. About Victoria Blackwell, who'd sent Maya an adoption congratulations card and a gift certificate to a bookstore. People were complicated. Families were messy. Love wasn't clean or simple or anything like the fairy tale suggested. But it was real, and it was worth fighting for. The months rolled on. Maya thrived in school, making straight A's and starring in the winter play as something that wasn't a tree. Elena's consulting business expanded internationally. Ryan's investment fund started showing real returns while making actual positive impact. William had another health scare in November, but recovered quickly. It reminded everyone that time was finite, that second chances didn't last forever. On Christmas Eve, both families gathered at the penthouse. Miguel and William argued about sports while drinking beer together. Ryan's grandmother taught Maya to play poker. Carlos brought a girlfriend for the first time and endured everyone's good-natured teasing. Elena stood in the kitchen, watching the chaos, and felt Ryan's arms wrap around her from behind. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. About how none of this should have worked. About how a fake kiss at your father's house shouldn't have led to all of this." "But it did." "But it did." Elena turned in his arms. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if I'd just quit that day? If I'd walked away instead of agreeing to fake date you?" "All the time. And it terrifies me." "Why?" "Because I almost lost you before I even had you. Because if you'd made a different choice, if you'd been less brave or more sensible, I'd still be drowning in work and loneliness and pretending I was fine. You would have figured it out eventually. Maybe, but I wouldn't have had you while I did. I wouldn't have this family, this life, any of it." Through the kitchen doorway, they could see Maya showing Miguel her new magic trick, while William pretended to be amazed. Carlos was arguing with Ryan's grandmother about card strategy. The Christmas tree lights twinkled, reflecting off the windows that showed the city beyond. "I used to think love was supposed to be easy," Elena said quietly. "That if it was real, it wouldn't be so complicated. But that's not true, is it?" "No. Love is messy and complicated and hard. But that doesn't make it less real. Maybe that's what makes it more real. Because anything worth having is worth fighting for? Because anything worth having requires showing up even when it's hard, requires choosing each other over and over again." Elena kissed him, soft and quick, aware of their families in the next room. "I choose you every time," she said. "Even knowing how complicated it would get? Especially knowing that. The complications are what made it real." They stood in the kitchen holding each other while their blended, imperfect, chosen family celebrated in the next room. And Elena thought about the girl she'd been 2 years ago, desperate for stability, drowning in responsibility, just trying to survive. That girl had walked into a billionaire's office looking for a job and found a family instead. She'd been terrified of losing herself in Ryan's world, of becoming someone she didn't recognize. But instead, she'd brought her world with her, her family, her values, her determination to earn everything she had. And somehow, impossibly, the two worlds had merged. Not perfectly, not smoothly. There were still tensions and disagreements and moments when the differences felt too big to bridge. But they kept trying, kept showing up, kept choosing each other in this complicated, messy, beautiful family they'd built. Later that night, after everyone had gone home and Maya was asleep, Elena stood on the balcony looking out at the city. Ryan joined her, bringing her a blanket against the cold. "You know what I realized?" she said. "What?" "The billionaire single dad didn't save me. I saved myself. You just gave me a reason to believe I was worth saving." Ryan pulled her close. "We saved each other." "Yeah, we did." They stood there wrapped in the blanket, watching their city sleep, and thought about how far they'd come. From a desperate lie to a real love. From strangers to spouses. From broken pieces to a whole family. It hadn't been easy. It hadn't been smooth. But it had been real. And sometimes, Elena thought, that was the best kind of love story. Not the one where everything worked out perfectly, but the one where imperfect people chose each other anyway. Where they fought for each other through complications and criticism and impossible odds. Where they built something true from something fake. Where they found home in each other. Ryan's phone buzzed with a text from Maya, sent from her bedroom. "Are you guys being mushy on the balcony again?" They both laughed. "We should go to bed," Elena said. "In a minute. I want to stay here a little longer." So they stood together on their balcony overlooking Manhattan, two people who'd started with a lie and found everything they'd been missing. The billionaire who'd learned that money couldn't buy happiness, but love could give it freely. The woman who'd learned that she didn't have to choose between where she came from and where she was going, she could honor both. And somewhere in their penthouse, their daughter slept peacefully, secure in the knowledge that she was loved completely by parents who'd chosen each other and chosen her. That was the real ending. Not perfect, not tied up with a neat bow, but real and messy and absolutely right. Because the best stories aren't the ones where everything works out easily. They're the ones where people work hard to make things work, where they fight for each other, where they choose love even when it's complicated, where they find that home isn't a place or a tax bracket or a social class. Home is the people who see you completely and love you anyway. Home is choosing each other every single day. And that, Elena thought as Ryan's arms tightened around her, was worth more than all the money in the world.